Chapter 1730. The 9 Heavens Supremes are here. How ridiculous was this immortal Emperor dueling? He had twisted the truth as soon as he arrived and accused Qin Nan of something that did not exist at all. Did this immortal Emperor dueling really think he could do whatever he wanted just because he was a peerless ruler? That he could bully him as he pleased? It was simply wishful thinking. What did you just say? Immortal Emperor Dueling's eyes flickered with anger. His voice exploded like thunder in the sky. You're simply out of line, out of line. Not only did you not admit your crimes, you're being so disdainful too. If you let him go now, I'll spare your life. He had always been the junior brother of Supreme Chang Shao, who had a great chance of achieving the 9 Heavens Supreme Realm. Everyone in the Sky Taihuang sect had always been respectful toward him. However, a mere Qin Nan dared to challenge him. If it weren't for the fact that Qin Nan was too close to Yu Hong and the others, and that his Dao foundation had been severed, he would have been able to defeat their 3 sons with some unknown method. It was quite impressive. Otherwise, he would have attacked right away to at least leave Qin Nan with serious injuries. Things are getting out of hand. The same thought crossed the minds of the cultivators. Yu Hong and his crew in particular were trembling in fear. They did not expect Qin Nan would not let them go even though Immortal Emperor Dueling was here in person. Spare his life? Immortal Emperor Dueling, how bold of you! At that moment, a cold voice was heard from afar. A figure slowly descended from the sky, emitting a shocking aura. It was none other than Envoy Feng Hua. Envoy Feng Hua is here? Most cultivators were startled. Envoy Feng Hua? Immortal Emperor Dueling was startled. His expression darkened as he said, "What do you mean by this? Are you trying to protect Qin Nan and watch him kill my sons?" Even though most immortal emperors in the Sky Taihuang sect were intimidated by Envoy Feng Hua, Immortal Emperor Dueling was not intimidated at all, especially when his son's life was at stake. Envoy Feng Hua glanced at Immortal Emperor Dueling before looking at Qin Nan with a smile. "Kid, you've given me a great surprise. However, can you spare their lives?" Even though it was reasonable for Qin Nan to kill them, Qin Nan's talents and Qin Nan's background would not be a problem. However, it was a great loss to the Sky Taihuang sect. It would not be wise if Immortal Emperor Dueling lost his mind because of it. Qin Nan frowned and said, "Feng Hua, Before Qin Nan could finish, Envoy Feng Hua shook his head with a wry smile and said in an unpleasant tone, "You have the same personality as her. Why don't you do me a favor this time?" Qin Nan fell silent after hearing this. He had always been amenable to persuasion, but not coercion. Besides, Envoy Feng Hua had done him a great favor during the Battle of the Strongest Immortal. Immortal Emperor Dueling was stunned once again. Why was Envoy Feng Hua being so nice to Qin Nan? "Fine, since Senior Envoy has asked, I'll spare their lives." A few moments later, Qin Nan said calmly, "However, they tried to kill me, so they won't be punished even if they don't die." As soon as Qin Nan finished the sentence, the heaven-shattering saber in his hand unleashed 3 formidable saber intents and slashed at Yu Hong and the others. The chests of Yu Hong and the others were slashed open, causing blood to spurt out from the wounds. The terrifying saber intent penetrated their limbs and bones, shattering their meridians, etc. Their divine sense was immediately overwhelmed by the overwhelming pain. They could not help but cry out in agony. "Yu Hong!" Immortal Emperor Dueling was startled. He quickly went down and fed Yu Hong an immortal pill while inspecting Yu Hong's body with his divine sense. The anger in his chest rose when he saw the shocking injuries on Yu Hong's body. "Qin Nan, how dare you hurt my son? I won't forgive you!" Immortal Emperor Dueling snapped. He thoroughly unleashed his cultivation. His aura of the peak peerless ruler realm shook the spacious dojo vigorously. "Stop it!" Envoy Feng Hua was startled. He quickly stood in front of Qin Nan. "Feng Hua, he has inflicted serious injuries on my son, yet you still want to protect him. I'm telling you, no one is going to save him today, even if the Patriarch is here in person. Immortal Emperor Duling's aura skyrocketed. Strong gusts of wind swept across the rift. As a peerless ruler, he was not an idiot. He would not let his emotions affect his decisions. However, since Yu Hong was beaten to a pulp, he was in the right. Even if he accidentally killed Qin Nan, senior brother Chang Shao would only punish him for the sake of it. Father, Yu Hong, who was screaming in pain, was shocked when he saw this. He hurriedly tried to stop them. Little did his father know, Qin Nan had already reforged his Tao foundation. His strength and cultivation were comparable to the 6 core disciples of the Sky Taihuang sect. Besides, Qin Nan's talents were even stronger than the 6 core disciples. Even with Immortal Emperor Duling's identity, he would not be able to protect himself if he killed Qin Nan, not to mention that Qin Nan was in the right in the first place. However, it was already too late when he tried to stop Yu Hong. The sky within a few 100,000 li suddenly turned brilliant. 2 terrifying auras burst out from the sky and landed on every inch of the space. The souls of every cultivator present shuddered. Duling, what are you doing? A furious roar exploded. The ground shook vigorously as the power of the cultivators became unstable. Following it, Supreme Huanglei and Supreme Chang Shao walked out of the rift with unpleasant looks, especially the latter's face, which was extremely dark. Even the 2 Nine Heavens Supremes are here? The eyes of the cultivators were filled with great astonishment. They were 9 Heavens Supremes. It was rare to see them, especially Supreme Chang Shao. His status was significantly higher than the other 9 Heavens Supremes. Senior brother? Immortal Emperor Duling was stunned. He could not believe his eyes. As his junior brother, he knew his senior brother would not show up under normal circumstances. However, why would he show up in person just because of a duel between core disciples? Furthermore, he had come together with Supreme Huanglei. Was it all because of Qin Nan? He was even more confused when the thought crossed his mind. Why would his senior brother and Supreme Huanglei show up when Qin Nan's Tao Foundation was destroyed? I'll punish you later for what you did today, Supreme Chang Shao said coldly. Both Supreme Huanglei and Supreme Chang Shao turned around and clasped their fists together. Their attitude was extremely respectful. Disciple welcomes Master to the realm of great desolation. Chapter 1731. Old Taoist Qianzhe Mas. Master? The shock in the hearts of everyone present was indescribable. How terrifying would their master be if both Supreme Chang Shao and Supreme Huanglei were referring to him as their master? Did the old ancestor go to the realm of Taihuang? Meanwhile, many 9 Heavens Supremes who were cultivating in seclusion or in deep slumber in the 3rd small world of the Sky Taihuang sect had woken up. Even the authorities had woken up. They had unleashed a powerful eye technique that transcended everything and fixed their gaze on the dojo. There was a hint of doubt in their eyes. Based on their understanding of their old ancestor, he would not show up unless something serious happened. Following it, the place fell silent. An old man with a dignified face slowly stepped out from the void. With every step he took, the color of the world dimmed a little. Although the old man didn't emit any aura, everyone could sense that his body contained a power capable of destroying heaven and earth. Even Supreme Chang Shao and Supreme Huanglei were incomparable to him. Disciple Changkong greets the old ancestor. Disciple Feng Hua greets Senior Qianzhe. Changkong and envoy Feng Hua quickly recovered from their shock and hurriedly bowed. Master, why are you? Immortal Emperor Duling was dumbfounded. The others might be unaware, but he was well aware that his master had not been to the realm of Taihuang for at least a few 100 years. Even he, as the second disciple, had not seen his master for more than 50 years. But why was his master here now? Was he just passing by? Qianzhe? Could this Qianzhe be the previous patriarch, old Taoist Qianzhe? Didn't the rumors say he died in the first immortal realm? Why is he still alive? The supreme elders of the Sanqing ancient sect and the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor sect were astounded. Their bodies began to tremble as they recalled something. It was not good news for them that old Taoist Qianjue was still alive. There's no need to be so courteous. Taoist Qianjue waved his hand. He ignored Immortal Emperor Dueling and fixed his gaze on Qin Nan. He wore a rare smile like a refreshing breeze. Qin Nan, you're pretty good. In just 3 months you were able to reconstruct your Taoist foundation. If it was me, I definitely wouldn't be able to do it. The 9 Heaven Supremes were astounded upon hearing the words. Reshape the Tao Foundation? Who is he? I've heard that this kid is the #1 immortal in this battle of the #1 immortal. He had just ascended to immortality, but then, F***ck. Why is this kid so abnormal? Ha ha ha, it seems like an incredible figure has appeared in our sect. Most of the 9 Heaven Supremes were astounded after hearing about Qin Nan's achievements. Only a few were frowning. It was hard to tell what they were thinking. His Tao Foundation? Immortal Emperor Dueling's mind went blank as if he was struck by lightning. He finally had the answers to half of the questions in his mind. Envoy Feng Hua, his senior brother, and Supreme Huanglei were here because Qin Nan had reconstructed his Taoist foundation. An ordinary core disciple would not be so important after their Taoist foundation was reconstructed, but Qin Nan was different. During the battle of the strongest immortal, everyone was well aware of Qin Nan's outstanding talents and terrifying potential. In time, Qin Nan would surely become the strongest core disciple of the Sky Taihuang sect. He might even be ranked at the top among the exceptional geniuses in the 9 Heavens immortal realm. Ancestor, you're being too serious. I was only able to reconstruct my Taoist foundation because I was lucky. Qin Nan brought his fists together and shook his head. Anyone else would be able to reconstruct their Taoist foundation with the help of the Tao-melting immortal flames and a room full of immortal blessing resources and rare herbs after their Taoist foundation was destroyed. You don't have to be humble. In cultivation, luck is often a part of strength. Taoist Qianjue's eyes flickered as he spoke. As a matter of fact, it was not necessary for him to show up after Qin Nan had reconstructed his Taoist foundation. However, when he recalled Feiyue's advice 3 months ago, and the series of incidents that happened to Qin Nan, he sharply sensed that there was a terrifying power behind Qin Nan. Even Qin Nan himself had no idea how strong he was. Alright, back to the topic. I've heard some things on my way here. I'm here to uphold justice for you. Taoist Qianjue said calmly. Dueling, bring your precious son to the evil abyss for 100 years. Immortal Emperor Dueling's face turned pale upon hearing the words. Master, the evil abyss, however, before he could finish, his heart skipped a beat when he saw Taoist Qianjue's gaze. He did not dare to say another word. Yes, master. Immortal Emperor Dueling lowered his head and led Yu Hong into the distance. His heart was filled with regret. If he knew Qin Nan had reconstructed his Taoist foundation, he would not let his son compete for the dark underworld wood. Besides, he would not force his hand and threaten Qin Nan. Taoist Qianjue is here to uphold justice for Qin Nan. The great elders and the others at the scene took a deep breath. Taoist Qianjue's small action was a clear signal to the others. Taoist Qianjue wore a smile and said, Qin Nan, from today onward, you're one of the 6 core disciples of the Sky Taihuang sect. Besides, I know you've suffered a lot today, but I'm willing to fulfill one of your requests. He added after a slight pause, of course, it's only limited to martial arts and resources. Don't mention anything that's too troublesome. Qin Nan brought his fists together and said, Thank you, Ancestor, I don't have any other requests. He was already very grateful that the Sky Taihuang sect had given him the dark underworld wood and so many precious spirit herbs. Taoist Qianjue glared at Qin Nan. No, you have to mention it. Otherwise, what would the others think of the Sky Taihuang sect? Well, Qin Nan said with a wry smile, all right, I have a brother called Qiuhong. He's an inner disciple of our sect. I hope he won't be bullied in the sect. Supreme Huanglei and Supreme Chang Shao were amused by Qin Nan's words. After what happened today, who would dare to bully Qiuhong in the Sky Taihuang sect? Taoist Qianjue was left speechless. He threw a badge at Qin Nan and said, "This is the scriptures of Sky Taihuang. Take it and cultivate. I'll be leaving." Chapter 1732. The rise against Supreme Chang Shao and Supreme Huanglei gave their advice to Qin Nan. The former vanished into thin air, while the latter brought envoy Feng Hua and Changkong to another place. No one knew what they were up to. The auras lingering between the heavens and earth dissipated. Everyone was relieved. They quickly placed their attention on Qin Nan. Their gazes were filled with fear, envy, and jealousy. However, there was no disdain in their eyes. To put it bluntly, even if all the peerless geniuses here were added together, they would still be no match for Qin Nan. The difference between their identities was like the difference between the heavens and earth. It was the truth of the 9 heavens' immortal realm. Haha, cultivator Qin Nan, you've really impressed us today. The Supreme Elders soon approached Qin Nan with smiles on their faces. Qin Nan responded to them one by one. He eventually separated himself from the crowd and headed toward Wan Shao and Su Xianji. Zhao Lijian and the rest of the peerless geniuses immediately left in a panic. They did not dare to stay any longer. Qin Nan, you're so impressive. I, Wan Shao, am truly impressed by you. Wan Shao blurted out. Every time he saw Qin Nan, the guy would always bring him great astonishment. Qin Nan smiled. He did not say anything. He looked at Su Xianji and said, Xianji, I'm going to take care of something. I'll be away for a while. You can contact me with this badge if you need anything. Many people looked at Qin Nan enviously upon hearing this. Su Xianji giggled and said mischievously, I won't hold back then. With this badge, I can do whatever I want in Shangxing. Qin Nan coughed and said, I have a lot of enemies. The two chatted for a while, before Qin Nan waved his hand and excused himself, before he turned around and left. He had already asked the Blood-Eye human immortal to go to the 4th small immortal realm with him on his way here. Su Xianji let out a sigh as she watched Qin Nan leave. They had only known each other for less than 5 years, yet Qin Nan was no longer the little human god he used to be. He had grown so much that even she had to look up to him. The distance between the two of them also increased imperceptibly. It was the sad thing about the martial world. As one's cultivation improved, the places they went to would be different too. Even though their friendship would never change, they would have fewer chances to interact with one another. Wan Shao beside her had a complicated look too. Once upon a time, this man had given him a huge benefit without even frowning. But now, Qin Nan had completely distanced himself from him. He was going to Qin Nan's name. No one would have thought that the name that should have disappeared would once again appear in front of them in such a dazzling manner. Meanwhile, in the 3rd small world of the Sky Taihuang sect, Master, I bet the other Supreme Taoism factions are going to be dumbfounded when the news spread to the 9 heavens immortal realm. Supreme Chang Shao wore a grin as he recalled the scene that was going to take place. Sigh, I won't have the chance anymore. Feiyue had just sent me a message. She asked me to forbid any information about Qin Nan from appearing in the 10,000 Dao Immortal Badge. Taoist Qianjue let out a sigh. What? Supreme Chang Shao was startled. He said, It's quite a price to forbid a person from appearing in the 10,000 Dao Immortal Badge, and it can only be maintained for 10 years at most. Why would she do that? Taoist Qianjue felt a slight headache when he mentioned it. I asked her about it, and she only said she had discovered something. She didn't want everyone to pay attention to Qin Nan anymore. She didn't want to say anything else. Supreme Chang Zhao's lips twisted too. This kind of explanation was in line with her character. Not long after, many factions sharply realized that any information about Qin Nan could not be leaked into the 10,000 Dao Immortal Badge. However, they did not suspect it too much. They simply assumed the Sky Taihuang sect was hiding it on purpose. They were waiting for the perfect opportunity to let Qin Nan show himself and challenge the other supreme Taoism factions. Meanwhile, in a relatively unknown ancient city in the Shangxingtian small immortal realm, Long Xianling greeted an old man in a rundown inn respectfully and entered the inn. A moment later, he saw the South World Immortal Emperor with an icy aura. "Congratulations, Immortal Emperor, you're about to achieve the 9 Heavens Supreme Realm." Long Xianling brought his fists together and said with a smile, "You're quite well informed." The South World Immortal Emperor said calmly, "That's enough, that's enough. Qin Nan has brought me a great surprise. How's the plan you mentioned before coming along?" Long Xuanling's eyes flickered sinisterly as he said, "After Qin Nan reforged his Dao foundation, the Sanqing Ancient Sect and the Heaven Illusionary Ancestors Sect held an emergency meeting. They both want to eliminate Qin Nan." He added after a slight pause, "However, their power is limited." Qin Nan's reforging of his Dao foundation was indeed a threat to the Sanqing Ancient Sect and the Heaven Illusionary Ancestor Sect, but it was only a threat. They had their own exceptional geniuses in their respective factions too. It was hard to say who would have the last laugh. Most importantly, a core disciple of a supreme Taoism orthodoxy, especially an exceptional genius, was extremely difficult to kill. "So you're saying that if we can't kill Qin Nan, everything we've done is in vain?" The South World Immortal Emperor's eyes flickered coldly. A terrifying aura surged in all directions like a raging tide. Long Xianling was startled. He gathered his focus to resist the aura. He was quite shocked too. As expected of one of the 7 peerless rulers under the Empress, this South World Immortal Emperor was indeed extraordinary. "Not exactly, I've received some news from the Sky Taihuang sect. Qin Nan has taken the Dark Underworld Wood. He's heading to the 4th Small Immortal Realm." Long Xianling said. "Oh." The South World Immortal Emperor raised his brows. "Senior Immortal Emperor, you should know better than me what kind of place the 4th Small Immortal Realm is. Qin Nan has only risen recently. It's extremely difficult to kill him. The old guys of the Sky Taihuang sect won't allow it, but if we go there..." Long Xianling paused for a moment before adding, "Besides, we can also tell the other Supreme Taoism factions about him and get them to do the dirty work for us." The South World Immortal Emperor nodded. "That's possible." His eyes flickered as a thought crossed his mind. "But that's not enough. Once I achieve the 9 Heavens Supreme Realm, you will come with me to the 4th Small Immortal Realm and kill him with your own hand." He was certain that Qin Nan was the one that destroyed the South Heaven Gate in the past. The South Heaven Gate was extremely important to him. If it wasn't destroyed by Qin Nan, he would have achieved the 9 Heavens Supreme Realm by now. Besides, Long Xianling was startled, but he soon let out a hollow laugh. Chapter 1733. The 4th Immortal Realm. Sometime later, Qin Nan reunited with the Blood-Eye Human Immortal at Yunluo Ancient City. The Blood-Eye Human Immortal did not stay idle when he learned Qin Nan was heading to the 4th Small Immortal Realm. He spent a lot of effort to gather information. "Let's take the Kunlun Immortal Vessel." The two left as soon as they met. It was not easy to travel from one small immortal realm to another. Those below the Peerless Ruler realm had to take the Kunlun Immortal Vessel, or they might encounter great danger. The Sky Taihuang sect had Kunlun Immortal Vessels that were heading to different small immortal realms, but there was only a limited number of them. They would have to wait for another night if they missed it. They soon arrived at the destination. Qin Nan showed his badge. An outer elder immediately arranged for them to stay in a VIP room on the vessel. "Damn it, I didn't have time to learn more about the 9 Heavens Immortal Realm, but after a few days, I realized how terrifying it is. The blood-eye human immortal cursed as soon as he sat down. He seemed to have been holding back for a long time. What do you mean? Qin Nan wore a curious look. Even though he was considered an exceptional genius, his understanding of the nine heavens immortal realm was still quite shallow. He only knew there were 13 supreme Taoism factions and 33 small immortal realms. How should I put it? The blood-eye human immortal gathered his thoughts and said, Qin Nan, among the 33 immortal realms in the nine heavens immortal realm, there are 10 immortal realms. The 10 immortal realms don't have names. They are called the first immortal realm, the second immortal realm, etc. Yesterday, I heard from a cultivator that there are over 10,000 ancient tribes living in the second and third small immortal realms. Qin Nan was astounded. Ancient tribes? The blood-eye human immortal nodded and said, These ancient tribes refer to those who are born with unique physiques and extraordinary traits. They can also reproduce through their bloodline. Most importantly, he lowered his voice, among the countless ancient tribes, there are 100 great tribes. Among the 100 great tribes, many of them are comparable to the supreme Taoism factions in terms of strength and heritage. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with excitement. Compared to a supreme Taoism orthodoxy, what kind of concept was that? Even though those who achieved the nine heavens supreme realm were allowed to establish a supreme Taoism faction, there were only 13 supreme Taoism factions in the entire nine heavens immortal realm. It was obvious that a mere nine heavens supreme was not enough to establish a faction. For example, the Sky Taihuang sect was rumored to have 2 nine heavens supremes, yet he already knew they had 4 nine heavens supremes. As for that old Taoist Qianjue, he had no idea what level he had reached. Besides, there was a mysterious third small world in the Sky Taihuang sect. What kind of secrets were hidden in the small world? How many experts were sleeping in it? Qin Nan suddenly recalled when he was refining the fire seed of the Tao-melting immortal flames. The mysterious voice once told him not to let the people of the tribe of immortal spirits see him using the primary spiritual seal before he achieved the nine heavens supreme realm. The tribe of immortal spirits was probably one of those 100 tribes, right? In addition to the ancient tribes, there's also the mysterious first immortal realm. You can't find anything about it in the 10,000 Tao immortal badge. Most of the ancient books have no records about it either. The blood-eye human immortal said, I've asked many experts, but only an earth immortal over 800 years old told me that those who haven't achieved the immortal emperor realm are not allowed to enter the first immortal realm. Qin Nan was startled. An immortal emperor was equivalent to a peerless ruler. What kind of place is the first immortal realm? Are you saying that those who haven't achieved the peerless ruler realm are not allowed to enter it? Qin Nan could not help but ask. I asked the earth immortal too. He said it's not that you can't enter the first immortal realm, but he never saw anyone below the peerless ruler realm coming back. Qin Nan was startled by the blood-eye human immortal's words. At the same time, his interest was piqued. The more mysterious the first immortal realm was, the more he was eager to see it. Ugh, I was too busy talking about it. We haven't gotten to the point yet. The truth is, the fourth small immortal realm is nothing ordinary too. The blood-eye human immortal patted his head. The fourth small immortal realm is nothing ordinary too? Qin Nan was startled. The 10 small immortal realms each have their own secret. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough time, so we didn't find anyone suitable to learn more about them. The blood-eye human immortal straightened his face and said, The fourth small immortal realm is also known as the realm of chaos because there are no rules there. You can do whatever you want as long as you are strong enough. For example, you can claim a blessed immortal land there. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat upon hearing the words. A blessed immortal land. Qin Nan had witnessed a lot of the energy and secrets it contained. He was quite envious of it too. However, there was an unwritten rule in the nine heavens immortal realm. If anyone below the peerless ruler realm tried to claim a blessed immortal land, they would be hunted down. Besides, the chi of the heavens and earth in the fourth small immortal realm is extraordinary. There are a lot more blessed immortal lands than the other immortal realms. There are endless natural resources too. As such, it has a mix of good and bad. There are 9 heavens supremes, exceptional geniuses, and even human gods here. The blood-eye human immortal said. It seems like the fourth small immortal realm is indeed a good place. Qin Nan's lips curled upward. By the way, Qin Nan pondered for a moment before he took out a scroll and said, Senior Blood-Eye, this is for you, but please don't reveal it so easily. The blood-eye human immortal was confused. What was it that was so precious? He scanned the scroll with his divine sense. His eyes widened when he read the words, the general outline of the true scriptures of the ultimate life Tao? The art of Tao seeking of the extreme living gate? He was stunned. In his memory, the extreme living gate and Qin Nan were like fire and water. How did Qin Nan obtain the art of Tao seeking? Qin Nan did not speak. He wore a calm smile. The blood-eye human immortal had a lot of questions to ask, but he swallowed them when he saw Qin Nan's reaction. Qin Nan, thanks. The blood-eye human immortal said. If Qin Nan was willing to give him the general outline of the art of Tao seeking, it meant that not only did Qin Nan treat him as a friend, he also trusted him a lot. Senior, why are you being so courteous with me? Qin Nan was left speechless. The blood-eye human immortal burst out laughing. They chatted for a while before they began to cultivate. Qin Nan was practicing the complete true scriptures of Sky Tai Huang. After the conversation with the blood-eye human immortal, Qin Nan's doubts were cleared. He finally had a clearer understanding of the 9 heavens immortal realm. He was confused because the copper mirror had told him that it was extremely rare for someone to achieve the 4 extremities in the 9 heavens immortal realm. However, it turned out that the copper mirror was not telling the truth. She was most likely trying to avoid giving him a bad impression. However, Qin Nan still realized how minuscule he was. Right now, he only had the aptitude to be proud of, but not the strength to be proud of. Since ancient times, peerless geniuses could be found everywhere. Next, he had to put in more effort to walk his path of cultivation. Chapter 1734. The 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda. He suddenly realized that the Battle Tao Immortal Manuscript was activated on its own as his comprehension of the scriptures of Sky Tai Huang improved. Qin Nan frowned slightly. He had a feeling that something was going to happen. He continued to observe it. After a while, just as he expected, waves after waves of battle intent rose from his body. It was filled with a strong sense of resistance. It was as if a supreme ruler was alive and wouldn't allow anyone to step into its territory. A mountain can't have 2 tigers. What should I do now? Qin Nan fell into deep thought. He would not give up on the idea of mastering 12 Tao arts just like that. It would be a waste of the 9-colored Tao glow in his body. Buzz. The ownerless heaven pattern suddenly shuddered. An indescribable demonic intent surged into Qin Nan's body like a strong gust of wind. In an instant, all of his fighting spirit fell silent, and he no longer resisted. What's going on? Qin Nan was startled. Why would the ownerless heaven pattern show a demonic intent all of a sudden? Besides, what exactly was the demonic intent? How could it make the will of the Battle Tao Immortal Manuscript fall silent? Strange, I've never sensed a demonic intent from the ownerless heaven pattern before, Qin Nan murmured. He shook his head after some time. He had yet to understand the secrets of the ownerless heaven pattern. Either way, the appearance of the demonic intent had resolved a huge problem for him. It was definitely a good thing. Qin Nan continued to comprehend the scriptures of Sky Tai Huang. However, he did not notice the red string of 3 lifetimes on his wrist emitting a faint glow. A peerless woman in a mysterious place furrowed her beautiful brows. Was the terrifying demonic intent the will of Qin Nan's past life? Qin Nan's past life was a great authority of the demonic path? Time gradually passed. Qin Nan was immersed in comprehending the secrets of the scriptures of Sky Taihuang. He immersed himself in it and continued to comprehend the rest of the arts of Tao seeking after he fully comprehended the scriptures. It took him more than half a month to fully comprehend the scriptures. The huge Kunlun immortal ship also began to slow down. We are about to enter the fourth small immortal realm. Those below the human immortal realm, use everything you have to defend yourself. Don't get killed by the immortal intent. A loud shout rang out from the front, and a small commotion immediately occurred outside. Qin Nan and the blood-eye human immortal exchanged glances with one another and stepped forward. There were many cultivators on the deck, ranging from the human god realm to the earth immortal realm. There were even 2 heaven immortals. Even when they walked out of the VIP rooms, no one paid attention to them. That was because everyone's gazes were focused on the front. In the endless darkness, the Kunlun immortal ship slowly moved forward toward an incomparably vast and endless hazy light in front of it. Soon, the Kunlun immortal ship emitted a dazzling immortal light, and with a mysterious force it struck the hazy light. With a loud bang, they arrived at another world. Voila! Qin Nan and the cultivators immediately sensed a pure and overwhelming immortal intent surging into their bodies like a tide. Qin Nan felt extremely comfortable, like a fish in water. However, the cultivators below the human immortal realm had pale faces. They were almost left with serious injuries from the impact. As expected of the fourth small immortal realm, the immortal intent here alone is already 5 times stronger than the Shangxingtian small immortal realm. Qin Nan murmured. He flicked his finger and fired a force to nullify the immortal intent for the cultivators below the human immortal realm. Their complexions gradually returned to normal. After the Kunlun immortal ship entered the region, it flew quickly under the blue sky. Not long after, several huge cities appeared in front of them. It's your first time in the realm of chaos. Don't act recklessly after we arrive at the cities. You should buy a map and spend some immortal stones to familiarize yourself with the place. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. An outer elder leading the group said coldly. He glanced at Qin Nan and the blood-eye human immortal and said respectfully, "Seniors, someone will receive you after you disembark from the ship." The cultivators were startled. When they collected their thoughts, the Kunlun immortal ship had already docked in the cities. Qin Nan expressed his gratitude before flying out of the ship and landing on the dojo. Disciple Lin Ming greets senior brother Qin Nan. In just half a breath's time, a handsome young man in the heaven god realm went up to Qin Nan and brought his fists together. "Lin Ming, there's no need to be so courteous. I'll have to trouble you this time," Qin Nan said with a calm smile. "Senior brother, you're being too courteous. It's my duty." Lin Ming was flattered. He took out a jade pendant and said, "Senior brother, here's a map of the realm of chaos. The realm of chaos is split into the upper realm, lower realm, eastern realm, southern realm, western realm, northern realm, and the 6 unity forbidden land. The upper realm and lower realm have factions of various sizes, but the eastern realm, western realm, eastern realm, and southern realm don't have any factions. On top of that, don't go to the 6 unity forbidden land unless you have no other choice." The blood-eye human immortal could not help but ask, "What's so special about it?" Lin Ming said sternly, "The 6 unity forbidden land is no ordinary place. Even peerless rulers wouldn't dare to set foot in it. Only 9 heavens supremes are allowed to peek inside it." The blood-eye human immortal gasped. Even 9 heavens supremes could only peek inside it? Lin Ming patted his forehead as a thought crossed his mind. He said, "I almost forgot the most important thing. What are you planning to do in the realm of chaos?" Qin Nan did not hide the truth. He said, I'm planning to look for some natural resources. Lin Ming nodded and asked again, then I wonder if senior brother knows the location of those heavenly treasures? Qin Nan frowned slightly. He had totally forgotten about it. He only knew he was in the fourth small immortal realm. However, the fourth small immortal realm was extremely spacious. Where was he supposed to find the natural resources? Lin Ming immediately said after observing Qin Nan's reaction, Senior brother, it's fine if you don't know where the natural resources are. You can go to the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda or the Emperor's Ancient Island to trade for information. He added after a slight pause, the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda and the Emperor's Ancient Island are located in the Upper Realm and Lower Realm respectively. Their background is not to be underestimated. No one knows where they are until now. You just need to go to these two places and offer them enough benefits. You can trade for any immortal blessing resources, successions of 9 heavens supremes, or information about unclaimed blessed immortal lands. Qin Nan was startled. The blood-eye human immortal could not help but gasp. The fourth small immortal realm was filled with all kinds of people. It was extremely difficult just to establish a foothold here. It was even more difficult to find any information about natural resources or successions of 9 heavens supremes. The background and strength of the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda and the Emperor's Ancient Island were utterly terrifying. However, not everyone is allowed to go to the Emperor's Ancient Island. Those below the Heaven Immortal Realm, or those from the Qijia tribe, Jixiao tribe, or Lingua tribe are not allowed to enter. There has never been an exception. Chapter 1735. The Nongyan tribe. Lin Ming added, the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda is different. It doesn't matter what your cultivation is, what faction or tribe you're from, or even if you're from the ancient taboo, you can still enter it. Qin Nan was startled. Did you just mention the ancient taboo? The forbidden taboo flesh that he had practiced was the core art of the forbidden taboo sect. The forbidden taboo sect was a faction that specialized in opposing the ancient taboo. However, Qin Nan always thought the ancient taboo was a terrifying ancient faction. Ordinary people would never know about it. Lin Ming was startled. Senior brother, don't you know about the ancient taboo? He collected his thoughts and said with a smile, the ancient taboo isn't really a secret. It's an ancient faction in the first immortal realm. It's very mysterious. I don't think anyone knows its background. Its strength is extremely terrifying. It's a lot stronger than any of the Supreme Taoism factions. However, the people of the ancient taboo are very strange. They have killed many geniuses for no reason. Over the years, they have infuriated the heavens and the people. The 13 Supreme Taoism factions and the 100 primordial tribes are basically disgusted by them. Qin Nan's eyes flickered upon hearing this. Killing geniuses for no reason? Let's not talk about the ancient taboo for now. Qin Nan said, Lin Ming, do you have a map to the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda? We'll head there now. Lin Ming let out a cough and said, Senior brother, there's no need for a map. There's a teleportation formation in our city that will take us straight to the dojo of the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda. He soon wore a wry smile. Senior brother, I won't be able to accompany you there. I can't leave this place. However, don't worry, the people of the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda will receive you there. Qin Nan and the blood-eye human immortal exchanged glances with one another and nodded. Qin Nan said with a smile, if that's the case, we'll head there first. Thanks for your help today. Feel free to come to me if you need anything. Qin Nan took out a badge. He had a good impression of Lin Ming. Thank you, senior brother. Lin Ming cupped his fists and bowed, a hint of joy appearing on his face. Qin Nan bid the blood-eye human immortal farewell. He flew to the other side of the city and took the ancient teleportation formation to the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda. However, what they did not know was that after they left, Lin Ming was toying with the badge in his hand with a playful smile on his face. He actually gave me a token. This is really an unexpected gain, Lin Ming muttered to himself. Shortly after, he transmitted a message to a white token. Fellow Taoist, Qin Nan is already heading towards the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda. All you need to do now is to pay a certain price, and the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda will keep an eye on him. After he finished speaking, he crushed the white token into pieces. Time passed. 100 breaths later, the enormous formation emitted a blinding glow as Qin Nan, the blood-eye human immortal, and the rest of the cultivators slowly appeared from it. Qin Nan immediately raised his head as he sensed something. They found themselves on a blue dojo covering an area with a circumference of 200,000 li. The dojo was fully crowded with people, with all kinds of voices. At the end of the dojo were 9 teleportation formations of different colors. On top of that, 9 glowing balls like moons were floating in the sky in front of the dojo. Each of the glowing balls consisted of icy, pitch-black chains that intertwined with one another like a ferocious black dragon. Each of the glowing balls was its own little world. However, little did Qin Nan know, cultivators with weaker cultivations would be influenced by an invisible force when they looked at it, as if there were thousands of glowing orbs in the sky, resulting in a shocking sight. The 10,000-layer immortal pagoda was called the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda because of it. Cultivator, these 9 spaces represent different levels. The more valuable you are, the higher the space you can enter, and the better the treatment you will receive. A voice appeared in front of them. Qin Nan and the blood-eye human immortal glanced forward and saw a peak human immortal realm young man in a white robe with a golden flower embroidered on his chest. He was standing in front of them with a calm expression. They glanced at the dojo and saw quite a number of cultivators like him. Most of them were facing 1 or 2 cultivators at a time. Cultivators, I'm Su San, a disciple of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda. Feel free to ask me if you have any questions. Su San brought his fists together. Brother Su, you mentioned that the 9 spaces represent different levels. How do we enter the higher and better spaces? The blood-eye human immortal asked curiously. Cultivator, you might not know, but the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda has a set of rules. First, we'll check your identity, and second, we'll check the value of the treasure you're offering. Su San said with a smile. Of course, as the strongest immortal, Cultivator Qin Nan, a core disciple, and an in-name disciple of Supreme Chang Shao, you are qualified to enter the 4th space. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. The 10,000-layer immortal pagoda was indeed resourceful, to be able to recognize him in just a few breaths' time. Cultivator Qin Nan, aren't you surprised? As a matter of fact, even though the disciples of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda aren't very talented, we still remember the peerless geniuses of the 9 heavens immortal realm, or those with a certain level of cultivation and influence. Besides, most of them have seen the portraits of the peerless geniuses. Su San wore the same smile, but his tone had a hint of pride. Impressive! Qin Nan exclaimed. He said, Cultivator Su San, aren't we going to take part in the trial? Can you bring us there now? Su San nodded and said, Please come with me. There are more than 10 people with similar identities taking part in the trial ahead. Under Su San's lead, Qin Nan and the blood-eye human immortal soon arrived at the dojo. Qin Nan took a few more glances at the trial and quickly came to a realization. The trial was very simple. The participants just had to take out their possessions and let the people of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda appraise them. Su San soon came to a stop and said respectfully to an old man with white hair and glittering eyes, Elder Lin, someone else is taking part in the trial. Elder Lin said calmly without raising his head, They're lining up at the back. Qin Nan was not in a rush. He glanced at Elder Lin before looking at the others. His eyes flickered with astonishment following a glance. There were both men and women among the crowd, but one of them was a young man with a pale face and no hair. His eyes were covered in purple flames with a shocking aura. In addition to him, there was a woman and a beautiful woman. Even though they were not emitting any aura, their bodies were constantly emitting a faint moonlight, like the envoys of the moon. Cultivator Qin Nan, this young man is from the Nongyan tribe, and these two women are from the Lingua tribe. These two tribes are part of the 100 primordial tribes. They have a strong background, so you shouldn't offend them. Su San immediately transmitted his voice to Qin Nan. As for the others, they are the sons of the Linghun Immortal Emperor, who is also the core disciple of a 9 Heavens Supreme, and he spoke of the other people's backgrounds one by one. However, he spoke with discretion and did not reveal the names of these people. He only gave a general description. The 100 primordial tribes, huh? Qin Nan was startled. He secretly activated the immortal eyes of the divine god of battle to observe the 3 cultivators. He did not pay too much attention to the others. Kid, do you have a death wish? A few moments later, the young man with fiery purple eyes suddenly said coldly. Is a core disciple of the Sky Taihuang sect so rude? The beautiful woman who was initially wearing a faint smile and emitting a faint moonlight wore a cold expression too. These ancient tribes are indeed extraordinary. It feels like the young man is made of a powerful flame, and the two women's auras are no different than the moon. Besides, they are able to sense that I'm using an eye technique. Qin Nan was astounded. With his current cultivation, the immortal eyes of the divine god of battle were nothing ordinary. Even a peerless ruler would struggle to detect his presence. Chapter 1736. The power of the heaven-shattering saber. It was indeed impolite to peek at someone with an eye technique in the 9 heavens immortal realm. How did you manage to become a core disciple with such an attitude? The young man with fiery purple eyes mocked. Forget it, don't do it again. The woman frowned, but she did not say anything further. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Qin Nan wore a wry smile. He also realized that he did like to peek at things with his eye technique. It was not a good habit. The young man with fiery purple eyes twisted his lips. He did not speak further, as if he did not want to waste his time. Time passed bit by bit. One by one, the young men and women present took out different treasures for Elder Lin to appraise. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment when he saw a bronze cauldron among them. He could sense a strong Tao intent inside the cauldron. It had greatly surpassed the greater success stage of the Tao realm. It felt like it had reached the perfection stage. The young man with fiery purple eyes took out a strange flower that seemed to be made of the flames of the stars. It contained a shocking power of fire. Even the Tao-melting immortal flames in Qin Nan's body shuddered slightly. The beautiful woman in white took out an ancient stone that was as smooth as jade. There seemed to be tens of thousands of ancient ferocious beasts sealed within the ancient stone. Even though there was a seal on the stone, waves of heart-palpitating beastly roars constantly came from within. All right, it's your turn. Elder Lin waved his hand. Cultivator Qin Nan, please take out the best treasure you have. The higher the space, the easier it will be for you to find the immortal blessing resources, successions of 9 heavens supremes, blessed immortal lands, etc. Su San quickly reminded Qin Nan. Got it. Qin Nan nodded. He pondered for a moment before his right arm slowly turned into the heaven-shattering saber. The saber had an icy glow. He did not have many treasures in his body. There was no way he could take out the ownerless heaven pattern. He had been keeping the heaven-repairing cauldron for a long time. He was worried that the heaven-repairing cauldron's grade was not high enough. The young man with fiery purple eyes, the beautiful woman in a white dress, and the rest of the people did not expect Qin Nan's right arm to be an immortal saber. Their eyes flickered with astonishment and interest. Right arm turning into a saber? Interesting. Furthermore, this saber seemed to have been forged by a master blacksmith at the cost of his life. The material is not bad, and the willpower is very strong as well. It's just that the forging method is a little ordinary. Countless blood dots appeared in Elder Lin's eyes. A faint white glow appeared on his hands as he scanned the heaven-shattering saber with a calm expression. Qin Nan nodded his head. Elder Lin's judgment was indeed powerful. It wasn't until a moment later that Elder Lin finally withdrew his eye technique and said casually, "There's no saber spirit or path intent. It's average. You can enter the fifth space." The beautiful woman in a white dress and the others were startled upon hearing the words. At their level, most of the things they were given were extraordinary, thus they were able to enter the seventh or even the eighth space. Not a single person had entered the sixth space, let alone the fifth space. "It seems like you're having a hard time in the sky," Tai Huang sect. The young man with fiery purple eyes said disdainfully. He was convinced that Qin Nan was the son of a nine heavens supreme. He had barely reached the level of a core disciple, which was why he was able to compete with them for the treasure. Qin Nan frowned. Did Elder Lin just say that the heaven-shattering saber was average? However, before he could speak, and before Elder Lin could finish his sentence, the heaven-shattering saber suddenly buzzed, as a terrifying saber intent burst out from it and soared into the sky, producing a strong gust of wind. This, Elder Lin, the young man with fiery purple eyes, the beautiful woman in a white dress, and the others were astounded. Such a powerful saber intent! Is that an immortal saber that's a Dao weapon? It must be. Otherwise, why would it be so powerful? Most of the cultivators on the dojo were startled too. They immediately shifted their attention toward the saber. Why would it possess such a terrifying saber intent? Elder Lin mumbled to himself. When he finally reacted, he spat out a drop of blood and executed a forbidden technique. The white light on his hands suddenly turned into a golden light. His face was filled with astonishment, which was soon replaced by astonishment, and a strong sense of astonishment. What a surprise! I've failed to recognize Mount Tai. The saber must be forged with a part of the flesh of a nine heavens supreme. It must have merged with the nine heavens supreme's will too. The saber's strength will only grow as I continue to use it. But why isn't there a saber spirit inside the saber? Why isn't there a Dao intent inside it? He frowned as he was utterly confused. Qin Nan nodded slightly upon hearing the words. It seemed like Elder Lin was quite knowledgeable. However, the heaven-shattering saber was not forged with the flesh of a nine heavens supreme, but the right arm of the divine god of battle. Elder Lin, may I ask how valuable the saber is? Which space can I enter now? Qin Nan interrupted. The saber is immeasurable. Elder Lin collected his thoughts. He handed the heaven-shattering saber to Qin Nan with a hint of reluctance and said, "You won't have any problem entering the ninth space with this saber." The ninth space? The young man with fiery purple eyes, the woman in a white dress, and the others were astounded once again. They were well aware of the saber's level in order to enter the ninth space. Cultivator Qin Nan, this is the badge that allows you to enter the ninth space. You can enter it with the teleportation formation. Su San immediately went up and pointed at a teleportation formation. Of course, that's only if the saber hasn't been sold or stolen. Countless cultivators visited the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda every day, thus it was impossible to tell how many precious treasures each of them had. Cultivators could say they had some, or they could say they did not. It all depended on their mouth. As such, the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda purposely came up with the trial to prevent them from wasting a lot of manpower and resources. Senior Blood Eye, let's head over now, Qin Nan said and smiled at the woman in a white dress and the others. He turned around and flew into the teleportation formation. He activated the badge and vanished into thin air. Isn't it just a saber? Why are you being so smug? The young man with fiery purple eyes was displeased. He soon thought, isn't Big Brother a saber cultivator? If he knew there's such a saber, he would surely. The flames in his eyes flickered upon having this thought. As for Qin Nan and the woman, they arrived at the 9th space a few moments later. They lifted their gaze and saw a wide, winding blue path coiling in the sky like an ancient dragon. All kinds of immortal palaces floated on both sides of the path. On the road there were people coming and going. However, each of them had received the support of an invisible force, causing their bodies to appear in the form of a white fog, making it impossible for others to see their faces clearly. However, they were still able to sense each other's auras. Qin Nan glanced around and saw that most of the cultivators were in the Earth Immortal Realm or above. 2 of them had even achieved the Peerless Ruler Realm. On top of it, the presence of Qi in the space was terrifyingly strong too. It was 5 times stronger than the 4th Small Immortal Realm. Such a strong presence of Qi. If I cultivate here for a month or 2, I can easily achieve the Earth Immortal Realm. The Blood-Eye Human Immortal sniffed. If you want to cultivate here again, it's not impossible. If you have something valuable, you can even cultivate here for 200 years, let alone 2 months. A voice full of energy sounded in their ears. Then, a middle-aged man who didn't appear in the white mist but revealed his true appearance walked over with a smile. He had an extraordinary temperament. Gentlemen, I am Su Lai. My son gave you a lot of trouble just now. The Blood-Eye Human Immortal was startled. He said, I don't have anything valuable. Even though he did have a lot of treasures, their quality was surely not ordinary in the eyes of these people. He was not sure if he could even cultivate for a month or 2 with them. Senior Su Lai, I'm Qin Nan. Qin Nan brought his fists together. He could sense that Su Lai's cultivation had reached the first layer Heaven Immortal Realm without using his eye technique. Cultivator Qin Nan, there's no need to be so courteous with me. You're the strongest immortal. I bet your talents aren't any weaker than that senior. However, it's quite a pity that you ended up like that. Su Lai switched the topic and said with squinted eyes, however, there's always a way. Friend Qin Nan, do you want to trade your saber for a method to reforge your Tao foundation? Qin Nan was sweating upon hearing the words. The people of the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda were quite impressive. They were trying to take his saber away as soon as they arrived. That won't be necessary. I'm here to look for 3 immortal blessing resources. Qin Nan said. Please come with me to the 10,000 Palace. Su Lai raised his brows. He made an inviting gesture. Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal Pagoda nodded. Not long after, the 2 entered one of the rooms in Myriad Palace. They had learned a lot about the 9th space after Su Lai explained it to them along the way. The 10,000 Palace and the 10,000 Palace were in charge of selling information, while the 10,000 Palace was hired by cultivators to solve their problems. Apart from the 2 biggest immortal palaces, the rest of the immortal palaces had halls for cultivation, halls for comprehending Tao arts, and halls built by powerful cultivators. There was a wide variety of resources available. Senior Su Lai, do you have the whereabouts of the 8-eyed yin and yang flower, the immortal repelling tree, and the supreme heart fruit? Qin Nan asked as soon as he sat down. He was feeling a little nervous. Chapter 1737. A sudden murderous intent. The few words calmed Qin Nan's heart as he let out a sigh of relief. If the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda did not have any information about the 3 natural resources, he would have no idea where to look for them. How can I know where they are? Qin Nan asked after withdrawing his thoughts. You should know how precious the immortal blessing resources are. Besides, I don't mind telling you that the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree are in the same place. It's very convenient. Su Lai said with squinted eyes. Of course, the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda never hides the truth either. Even though we know where the supreme heart fruit is, we can't guarantee its location. He added, after all, the supreme heart fruit isn't like the other immortal blessing resources. It's very special. It's extremely rare to find it. Even some 9 heavens supremes are interested in it. Qin Nan nodded. He had studied the supreme heart fruit. Its effect was quite simple. It contained a strong Tao intent and a hint of the will of a 9 heavens supreme. It would greatly benefit a 9 heavens supreme's cultivation after refining it. It might even help them achieve a breakthrough. Senior Su Lai, just tell me what you want. Qin Nan asked. As for the condition, it's very simple. Give me the saber in your hand. That being said, the saber in your hand is worth a lot more than the 3 immortal blessing resources. We can compensate you with other things too, depending on what you need. Su Lai was like a cunning fox. The 2 places where the 3 natural resources are located are extremely dangerous. It's very dangerous for you to go there. We can send a peerless ruler to help you. Qin Nan's lips twisted upon hearing the words. This Su Lai had been eyeing his saber. Senior Su Lai, to be honest, the saber is extremely important to me too. There's no way I'll give it away. Qin Nan took a deep breath. I see. Su Lai's eyes flickered with disappointment. He said after a slight ponder, if that's the case, why don't you take out something valuable? I can appraise it for you. If it's valuable enough, I'll trade it with you. Qin Nan released the heaven-repairing cauldron from his body without any hesitation. The cauldron was no longer as huge as it used to be after Qin Nan refined it. It was only 3 zhang tall now. It was emitting a mystical glow. The inside of the cauldron was pitch black. The terrifying beast that was comparable to a peerless ruler was nowhere to be seen. Apart from the ownerless heaven pattern and the heaven-shattering saber, the cauldron was the only thing. Is this the heaven-repairing cauldron? Su Lai took the cauldron. How is it? Qin Nan could not help but was thousand. Wasn't cauldron? Why does it still exist? Su Lai murmured to himself. As he collected his thoughts, he glanced at Qin Nan with a strange look. You're so lucky to be able to get your hands on it. This cauldron is nothing ordinary. It's on par with your saber. You can trade it with me. But, are you sure? If so, we'll sign a contract. He wore a stern look. Even though he failed to secure Qin Nan's saber and fulfill the senior's wish, it would still be a great contribution if he managed to secure the heaven-repairing cauldron. Perhaps his position as the 5th elder that he had been holding for a few decades might even be promoted. If that's the case, I'll surely. Qin Nan was about to accept the offer. However, before he could finish, a deep roar suddenly came from the heaven-repairing cauldron. It sounded like the enormous beast was infuriated. It was asking Qin Nan if he was willing to trade it with him. Not only that, but an icy cold voice also abruptly sounded in his mind. The cauldron is still quite valuable. There's no need to trade it with me. I can give you something that can trade for the 3 herbs. It was none other than Empress Feiyue. Qin Nan was startled. He said with a wry smile, Copper Mirror, I've asked you for a lot of help. It's not a trivial matter either. How could you, even though he was reluctant to part with the heaven-repairing cauldron, he was not willing to trouble the Copper Mirror. After all, they were only friends. He could not just take everything from her. Since when did you learn how to be polite? If you keep being polite, you can just remove the red string of 3 lifetimes. There's no need for us to keep in touch. Empress Feiyue's voice turned even colder. Qin Nan was left speechless. She was blaming him even though he did not ask for her help? You'll have to do me another favor, Empress Feiyue said coldly. Her tone contained an imperious aura that did not allow anyone to reject her. Fine. Qin Nan's lips twisted. Despite his reluctance, he had no choice but to accept the offer. If he were to reject the offer, knowing Empress Feiyue's personality, she might really ignore him in the future. Show him the symbol. Following Empress Feiyue's words, A strange symbol appeared in Qin Nan's mind. The red string of 3 lifetimes fell silent too. Qin Nan took a few glances at it before collecting his thoughts. He withdrew the heaven-repairing cauldron and said apologetically, "Senior Su Lai, I'm sorry, a friend of mine asked me not to trade the cauldron. But don't worry, I have something else." Su Lai was not angry. The smile on his face remained the same. He was quite intrigued. "Oh? You have something else? Show it to me." He had stayed at the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda for a few hundred years. He had done lots of deals, yet it was rare for him to make a huge deal. He had also seen many people who went back on their word after signing a contract. Qin Nan closed his eyes for a few moments. He unleashed the immortal force in his body and gathered it on the tip of his finger. He began to draw in the air silently, summoning a strange symbol. Strangely, the symbol was clearly made of immortal force, yet it felt extremely real, as if it was tangible. "Senior Su Lai, what do you think of the symbol?" Qin Nan asked after he finished drawing the symbol. Even though he was asking, he had already made up his mind. If Empress Feiyue was willing to give him the symbol, it must be something extraordinary. He could easily trade it for the information of the 3 resources. The symbol, could it be? Sure enough, when Su Lai saw this, his pupils immediately shrank, and his face was full of shock. However, a few moments later, Su Lai collected his thoughts. His expression turned icy as he snapped, "Qin Nan, die." He unleashed his immortal force as he performed a hand seal. Several ancient swords with the shape of snakes appeared in the air and loomed at Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal. Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal were dumbfounded. Qin Nan, in particular, was confused. Why would Su Lai attack him after seeing the symbol? However, despite his confusion, Qin Nan immediately collected his thoughts when he sensed the murderous intent. His right arm transformed into the heaven-shattering saber. Break! Qin Nan's blood hair drifted in the wind as he slashed forward. The snow-white saber intent shattered the snake swords into pieces like a strike from the heavens and earth. "Su Lai, what are you doing? Why are you trying to kill me all of a sudden?" Qin Nan's expression turned cold too. "Trying to kill you all of a sudden? Do you really have to ask me that? Not bad, you're still able to improve your cultivation so quickly even though your Tao foundation has been destroyed. However, you are going to die today." Su Lai's aura skyrocketed. The room began to shake vigorously under the pressure of the first-layer Heaven Immortal Realm. Black Serpent Sword Art. He began to move. His movements were eerie, as if they were there yet they were not. Several ancient snake swords appeared in his hand out of nowhere. The snake swords kept transforming as he moved, as if they were real ancient serpents. "You're being unreasonable, don't blame me for showing no mercy." Qin Nan's eyes were engulfed in white flames as his aura became incredibly ferocious, as if he was the only source of light between the heavens and earth. He immediately slashed forward with the saber in his hand, resulting in an overwhelming saber intent. 5th form of the divine god of battle, Tao jolting saber art. Bang bang bang! A series of explosions took place as a terrifying shockwave spread in all directions. Even the room made of ancient materials was shattered into pieces by the shockwave and turned into dust. Under Qin Nan's imperious saber intent, all the ancient serpents were destroyed in just 3 breaths' time. Su Lai's figure was forced to back away as he quickly executed his Tao arts to defend himself. However, he was like a turtle trapped in a jar. He had no chance of escaping. Chapter 1738. Supreme Wuqiu. Cough cough, Su Lai coughed out a few mouthfuls of blood. He immediately took out a pill that resembled a white jade and swallowed it to heal his injuries. Very well, as expected of the strongest immortal in the past. Even though his Tao foundation has been destroyed, even I, a first-layer heaven immortal, am no match against him. However, Qin Nan, don't you forget, we're still in the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda. Su Lai groaned and transmitted his voice. He sprang into the air and executed a powerful Dao art in Qin Nan's direction, as if he had a great grudge against Qin Nan. How bold! How dare you act so presumptuously in the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda? A series of yells came from the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda. 13 figures flew out from the pagoda within the blink of an eye and performed hand seals, firing immortal arts at Qin Nan like a surging tide. Among the 13 figures, 5 of them were first-layer heaven immortals, while the rest were second-layer heaven immortals. Even though only 3 of them had mastered the 4 extremities, while the rest had only mastered the 3 extremities, the attacks they executed together were still extremely powerful. The Blood-Eye human immortal's face turned pale. He felt like he was a tiny boat in the middle of a raging tide, which would capsize at any second. Qin Nan stared at them coldly without showing any sign of fear. He stepped forward and swung his saber at them. His saber intents grew sharper, like the wrath of the heavens and earth. They possessed a destructive force, shattering the immortal arts into pieces instantly. Su Lai and the 13 heaven immortals could not help but show astonishment in their eyes. They could clearly feel the saber intents as they were standing right under the saber intent. They felt like the saber intents were going to destroy everything, including them. Someone's making a move? Someone is making a move! TSK, I wonder which authority is so bold. The huge commotion startled the nearby palaces and the cultivators on the blue path. They immediately scanned the place with their divine sense. Many were watching it with great interest, as if they were watching a great show. No, this is not a good place to stay. Although Qin Nan was a little angry, he wasn't stupid. Starting a fight in the 9th space of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda was no different from courting death. Now that only heavenly immortals had appeared, who knew what would happen later? Let's go. Qin Nan reached out his hand and wrapped it around the Blood-Eye human immortal. He then flew toward the teleportation formation at a shocking speed. How dare you! This is not a place where you can escape. A series of yells came from the 10,000 palaces and the heavy palaces in the distance. Several heaven immortals showed themselves and executed their immortal arts at Qin Nan. You think you can stop me? Qin Nan let out a long howl. His figure flashed like lightning and smoke, drifting erratically. His immortal eyes of the divine god of battle were fully activated too. He observed the weak spots and swiftly destroyed them with a wave of his saber. From afar, he looked like a ferocious beast rampaging in a storm, as if he was going to knock everything aside. However, amidst the sounds of killing that filled the sky, there were also a few untimely voices that sounded. "Brother, give me the saber, I'll lend you a hand. Kid, you won't be able to escape on your own. We're being honest with you, we're offering you a fair price." The people were the people of the factions that had established their own palaces in the 9th space. However, most of their words were just teasing Qin Nan. Even if they had extraordinary capabilities, they would not fall out with the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda in the 9th space. They had their own limit. That being said, it would be a different story if Qin Nan really took out a shocking artifact. I'm almost there. Qin Nan's eyes were sharp like sabers. He ignored the people around him. However, at that moment, 3 shocking auras burst out from afar like peerless swords and soared into the clouds. A mere earth immortal dares to stir up trouble in our 10,000-layer immortal pagoda? Each and every one of his words was like a thunderclap that shook the heavens. 3 enormous figures with formidable auras stepped forward. Their gazes were fixed on Qin Nan while unleashing shocking auras. They were the peerless rulers of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda. 3 peerless rulers have shown up all of a sudden. This guy is done for. I wonder which faction he's from. The cultivators in the 9th space shook their heads and withdrew their gazes. The outcome was already decided. There was no need to worry about it. Even if the guy had a formidable background, he had already broken the rules by attacking someone in the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda. He would surely be executed on the spot. Crap! Qin Nan's heart sank. The peerless rulers had shown up earlier than he had expected. Even though he had the badge that Supreme Chang Shao had given him, allowing him to use his supreme will twice, how could the ninth space of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda only have peerless rulers? There must be 9 heavens supremes here. I can only give it a try. If it doesn't work out, I'll just activate the seal. Qin Nan made up his mind in the nick of time. He did not care if the 3 peerless rulers showed up. He executed the sky stride blow and landed on the teleportation formation. Die! The 3 peerless rulers snapped coldly. One of them flicked his finger while the other 2 waved their sleeves. The sky above Qin Nan within a few hundred li turned chaotic instantly. Forces of wind, fire, lightning, and other elements rampaged in the sky like a great calamity. Qin Nan's hair stood on its end. He immediately took out the badge and was about to unleash his supreme will. Meanwhile, an invisible force appeared out of nowhere and landed on the forces of wind, fire, lightning, and other elements. It strangely froze them in place, preventing them from falling on Qin Nan. What happened here? A faint voice drifted over from the depths of the sky. A faintly discernible pressure of a supreme being spread across the heavens and earth. It was everywhere. Even a 9 heavens supreme is here? The cultivators with formidable backgrounds who did not pay much attention to the situation immediately glanced at Qin Nan in astonishment. Greetings, Senior Supreme Wuqiu. Chapter 1739. Mysterious Forbidden Talisman. The blood-eye human immortal's face turned pale when he saw a purple-haired old man slowly appearing between the heavens and earth. He began to tremble in fear. The feeling of fear unceasingly emerged from the heart. He was only a little human immortal. The only time he saw a 9 heavens supreme was when Qin Nan was taking part in the battle of the strongest immortal. Normally, he would even treat an earth immortal with respect, let alone a 9 heavens supreme. However, when he thought about Qin Nan beside him, he clenched his teeth and tried his best to calm himself down. Qin Nan was startled. He did not expect a 9 heavens supreme to show up so soon. "Oh, Copper Mirror, what are you trying to do?" Qin Nan was left speechless. Su Lai had suddenly turned hostile and wanted to kill him indiscriminately. It was all because he had seen that strange symbol. Even though he did not think the copper mirror would set him up, he was indeed forced into a corner. He had no choice but to use the seal of the divine god of battle. "Su Lai, tell us everything that happened," one of the 3 peerless rulers said. Acknowledged. Su Lai withdrew his thoughts and transmitted his voice to the 3 peerless rulers and Supreme Wuqiu, Senior Supreme Wuqiu, Seniors. This Qin Nan is... He first explained Qin Nan's identity and how he met Qin Nan before he added, however, he drew a forbidden talisman in the end. What? He drew a forbidden talisman? The 3 peerless rulers were startled. The others might not know, but those above the heaven immortal realm in the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda were aware of a strange order that had been passed down since a few thousand years ago. Once they stumbled into the person that drew the forbidden talisman, regardless of their cultivation or background, they were to kill them at all costs. However, the forbidden talisman had never appeared in the past few thousand years. Even the people of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda thought the order was no longer valid. Supreme Wuqiu was startled too, but his lips soon twitched as a thought crossed his mind. If he had known about this earlier, he would never have participated in it. Senior Supreme Wuqiu, since he's the one who drew the forbidden talisman, I'll kill him right away, the 3 peerless rulers immediately reacted. No need. Supreme Wuchio took a deep breath and interrupted. He glanced at Qin Nan and said, "Kid, if you don't want to die and want to take your stuff, come with me. Su Lai, you too. Everyone else, disperse." With that, he turned into a ray of light and entered the Pantheon. What's going on? The three peerless rulers, Su Lai, and the Heaven Immortals were dumbfounded, especially the four peerless rulers. They had no idea why Supreme Wuchio would act like that. Supreme Wuchio has given the order. You can all leave now. Even though they were confused, they had no choice but to listen. The three peerless rulers emphasized and flew into the distance. The Heaven Immortals left with confused looks too. Is there a turning point? Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal were astounded. Su Lai collected his thoughts. He wore a strange look and said, "Qin Nan, you heard it too. Supreme Wuchio wants to see you." Qin Nan nodded at the Blood-Eye Human Immortal after a slight ponder. He followed Su Lai. Now that things had developed to this stage, even though it was full of mysteries, it was time to meet this Supreme Wuchio. If he was not mistaken, the Copper Mirror must have prepared something for him. He's fine now. Could it be that the kid has an extraordinary background? Tsk, interesting, it seems like it's worth investigating. The cultivators who were looking at the place were astounded. A few among them had a hint of interest in their eyes. It was rare to see someone still unharmed after a fight in the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda. A few moments later, in an ancient-looking room in the Pantheon, Supreme Wuchio was sitting at the main seat. He was drinking some immortal tea with an expressionless face. No one could tell what he was thinking. "Draw the rune again." After a long time, he faintly said. Qin Nan glanced at Su Lai. He unleashed his immortal force and drew the rune again. "That's right," Supreme Wuchio twisted his lips. The last ray of hope in his heart had vanished. "What's wrong with the rune?" Qin Nan asked. "It's a forbidden rune. Whoever uses it will become the 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda's enemy." Su Lai explained. Enemy? Qin Nan's eyes widened. Why would the Copper Mirror teach him the rune? That's true, but it's not as simple as it seems. Supreme Wuchio placed the cup down and said, "It's your first time using it, so we won't hold it against you. We'll also give you the locations of the 3 immortal blessing resources, but you won't use it again. What do you think?" Not only Qin Nan, but even Su Lai was dumbfounded by the words. Not only did they not kill the person who used the forbidden rune, they even gave him the locations of the 3 immortal blessing resources? They were talking about the locations of 3 immortal blessing resources. Many experts would risk their lives just to find any one of them. "Are you telling the truth?" Qin Nan was in disbelief. "I'm a 9 Heaven Supreme, why would I lie to you? If you agree to it, we can sign the contract right now." Supreme Wuchio wore a calm expression, yet he was actually having a headache. How could he not feel the pain after giving away the information of 3 immortal blessing resources for free? However, he had no choice but to hold it in and settle the matter as soon as possible. Then, Qin Nan was startled. He was about to accept the contract. To his surprise, the icy voice echoed in his mind once again, "Give him another request, ask for 3 immortal blessing sacred healing pills." Qin Nan was startled. The immortal blessing resources were refined with unique immortal blessing resources. Even though they were not as valuable as the immortal blessing resources, they were still extremely rare and hard to come by. He already had the information of 3 immortal blessing resources, yet the Copper Mirror was asking him for 3 more? What exactly is the forbidden rune? Why is the Copper Mirror so confident? The question crossed Qin Nan's mind. However, he did not overthink it. He soon collected his thoughts. After all, he trusted the Copper Mirror very much. He said without hesitation, "It's fine if you agree, but you have to give me 3 immortal blessing sacred healing pills." Chapter 1740. The Eastern Realm Sacred Kingdom. What did you say? Do you know that 3 Immortal Blessing Sacred Healing Pills are enough to exchange for the whereabouts of an Immortal Blessing resource? Especially in some special times, only 2 pills are needed. Su Lai's eyes flickered with anger. Are you serious? Supreme Wuqiu stared at Qin Nan. Well, Qin Nan felt a little awkward too. He felt a little embarrassed asking someone for something so precious for no reason, yet he had no choice but to say, "I'm serious." Bang! Supreme Wuqiu slammed the jade teacup on the table with a loud thud. A faintly discernible pressure began to wreak havoc, causing the entire room to continuously tremble. The blood-eye human immortal's face turned pale once again, but the fear in his eyes had significantly lessened. He completely ignored Qin Nan's words. Humph, I'll do it. Su Lai signed the contract with him. 3 breaths later, Supreme Wuqiu picked up the teacup and took a sip. Senior, Su Lai was not willing to do it, but his heart shuddered when he saw the look in Supreme Wuqiu's eyes. He took out a yellowish paper from his sumaru ring. The paper was known as the contract paper. After writing the content on it, both parties would insert their blood essence to sign the contract. It was similar to an immortal demon oath. As a matter of fact, it was a lot better than the immortal oath. However, the contract paper was extremely rare and had a mysterious background. It was basically impossible to find it in the outside world. It seemed like only the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda and the Emperor's ancient island had it. Qin Nan let out a relieved sigh. He was about to insert his blood essence when the icy voice appeared again. Ask them to tell me the whereabouts of 2 blessed immortal lands. Even with Qin Nan's current intelligence, he was still shocked by the words. Apart from some unique immortal blessing resources, the other immortal blessing resources in an ownerless blessed immortal land were not comparable to them at all. Besides, there were 2 blessed immortal land. The 3 Immortal Blessing Sacred Healing Pills were like appetizers compared to the 2 blessed immortal land. However, when Qin Nan collected his thoughts, he wore an awkward look, yet his heart was burning with passion. After all, he had been eyeing the blessed immortal lands for a long time. However, he had never thought of using the method of robbing the blessed immortal land. Besides, he was not a robber's enemy. Don't tell me you have other conditions? Su Lai said with a cold look. Well, I do. Qin Nan coughed and said in a weak voice, I want to know the whereabouts of 2 blessed immortal lands. The teacup in Supreme Wuqiu's hand shattered into pieces upon hearing the words. Qin Nan, you, Su Lai glared. Qin Nan, are you toying with me? Supreme Wuqiu's expression darkened. He said through clenched teeth. If it weren't for the hint of rationality in his heart, he would most likely have taught Qin Nan a lesson already. Qin Nan, the blood-eye human immortal, was dumbfounded too. Say, Senior, please calm down, I don't want to do this either, but the person who taught me the forbidden talisman asked me to do it. Qin Nan braced himself and said, You've gone too far, you've gone too far. Supreme Wuqiu was infuriated by the words. He yelled thunderously. The aura of a 9 Heavens Supreme was fully unleashed. It surged across the 10,000 halls like a great storm. It shook vigorously. The cultivators in the hall were startled too. Their faces were filled with astonishment. Phew! However, despite his anger, Supreme Wuqiu forcibly withheld his anger. He took a deep breath and said while clenching his teeth, Fine, I'll do it. Su Lai's face stiffened. He said with a blank face, Senior Supreme, even Qin Nan found it hard to believe that Supreme Wuqiu had actually agreed to all the ridiculous, unreasonable requests he had made. That being said, I must tell you that this is already our bottom line. If you dare to ask for anything else, the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda will turn against you. Besides, we will kill you the next time you use the forbidden talisman. Supreme Wuqiu said with a dark face. His heart was bleeding too. He had lost a lot of money this time. Qin Nan coughed a few times. He transmitted his voice to the red string of 3 lifetimes. Copper mirror, what do you think? Why don't we agree to it? I think it's enough. It's barely enough, your attitude is acceptable. We'll agree to it then. Empress Feiyue said coldly. The red string of 3 lifetimes fell silent. Even though Qin Nan had taken a huge advantage of the situation, he could not help but twist his lips. It was barely enough? Cough, senior, it's more than enough. Qin Nan said in an embarrassed tone. Humph. Supreme Wuchio's expression softened slightly, but he was still displeased. He was worried that Qin Nan would ask for something else, so he took out a contract and signed it with Qin Nan. Supreme Wuchio did not waste any time after signing the contract. He immediately gave Qin Nan the location of the 3 immortal blessing resources, 3 immortal blessing sacred healing pills, and 2 unclaimed blessed immortal lands. Qin Nan was overjoyed. He immediately inspected the information with his divine sense. The 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree are located in the Eastern Realm Sacred Kingdom. The Sacred Kingdom used to be a formidable faction in ancient times. It had 8-9 heavens supremes during its glory days and… Qin Nan glanced at the information and murmured, the Eastern Realm Sacred Kingdom, huh? He withdrew his thoughts and brought his fists together at Supreme Wuchio. Senior, I'll be taking my leave then. He did not stay any longer. He left the place with the dumbfounded blood-eye human immortal. Since he knew the location, he would have to do everything he could to get it. Senior Supreme, that's Su Lai had yet to recover from the shock. Are you trying to ask why we're giving him such great benefits instead of killing him? Supreme Wuchio's expression returned to normal. Yes. Su Lai nodded. Even though he knew Supreme Wuchio had his reasons, he could not understand why he was willing to pay such a huge price for it. Do you remember what happened in the realm of chaos when the order to kill the person who used the forbidden talisman was given? Supreme Wuchio asked instead of answering the question. That person was forbidden from entering the realm of chaos, Su Lai immediately answered. He clearly remembered the incident. The order to kill the person who used the forbidden talisman was a scam. I don't know how to explain it to you, but when we meet, we have to be blackmailed. If we don't get blackmailed, that person will have a reason to come back. Supreme Wuchio let out a sigh. Back. Su Lai's heart skipped a beat. The person was only a heaven immortal back then, yet she had already turned the realm of chaos upside down. Now, the person was about to become the strongest 9 heavens supreme. If she were to come back, then Su Lai's scalp turned numb. He did not dare to imagine it. Therefore, it's reasonable that she's willing to pay the price. However, I initially thought she would have forgotten about it, yet she still remembered it and even gave it to Qin Nan. Supreme Wuchio said. However, he did not suspect that Qin Nan was related to the person. He assumed the person was only giving Qin Nan a fortunate encounter. After all, they were both from the same faction and the secondary lower realm. However, we aren't the only ones in trouble. The people of the Emperor's ancient island are going to be scammed too. Besides, if we don't handle it well, the people of the Emperor's ancient island might hee. Chapter 1741. The ancient tribe. As for Qin Nan and the blood-eye human immortal, they soon took the teleportation formation and returned to the dojo. They happened to bump into Su San when they were about to fly to the Eastern Realm. Su San had no idea that his father had just fought with Qin Nan a moment ago. He respectfully led the two of them into the primary space after asking them if they wanted to leave. Qin Nan and the blood-eye human immortal came to a realization after hearing Su San's explanation. The 10,000-layer immortal pagoda and the Emperor's ancient island were familiar with the 4th small immortal realm after years of development. Even though they had yet to set up branches in the eastern, southern, western, northern, and southern realms, they had sent many people to station themselves there. When cultivators were on an adventure, they could contact the immortal pagoda with their badges if they were in danger, or if they were in need of some kind of treasure or pill. In addition to that, the two factions had also set up many teleportation formations in the eastern, southern, western, and southern realms, including the 6 Unity Forbidden Land. They would be able to reach their destination immediately after paying a certain amount of immortal stones. Even though the 4th small immortal realm was known as the Realm of Chaos, under the influence of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda and the Emperor's ancient island, the importance of profit was greatly emphasized. As a matter of fact, it had even formed a feeling that anything could be done as long as one had a good enough treasure. Without any treasures, even if one's cultivation was extraordinary, it would still be difficult for them to move an inch. A few hundred breaths later, Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye human immortal slowly appeared in the eastern realm under the influence of the teleportation formation. They immediately noticed a strong immortal intent lingering in the eastern realm. It was completely different from the upper and lower realms. The immortal intent in the upper and lower realms was peaceful with a hint of purity. It was suitable for cultivators to cultivate, but the immortal intent here had an ancient and heavy feeling. If one's cultivation was not strong enough, they would be affected by the ancient and heavy feeling of the immortal intent. They might even suffer chi deviation. No wonder no one is allowed to establish a faction in the eastern, southern, western, and northern realms. It's most likely the reason, Qin Nan murmured and activated the immortal eyes of the divine god of battle. Right now, they were standing in a dilapidated ancient city. Although there was no one around, there were still countless auras of varying depths lingering in the void. It was obvious that many cultivators had come to the eastern realm before him and the Blood-Eye human immortal. Let's go. Without any delay, Qin Nan rose into the air. Even though the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda had robbed him of everything, the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda was still very meticulous. Not only did they tell him where to look for the 2 immortal blessing resources in the sacred kingdom, they also gave him a rough map of the eastern realm. Through the coordinates, they can determine the route to the Holy Empire. Qin Nan did not move at full speed in the realm of chaos that was full of peerless rulers and 9 heavens supremes. He chose to conceal his presence and approach the place discreetly. Time trickled by. Along the way, the Blood-Eye human immortal surprisingly focused on cultivating. On the other hand, Qin Nan kept observing his surroundings. Even with Qin Nan's intelligence, he could not help but smack his lips in astonishment. He had seen at least 50 battles between human gods, earth immortals, and heaven immortals. 2 of the battles were between peerless rulers. If he did not react in time, he would have been dragged into the battle. On top of that, most importantly, there were ruins of various sizes, all kinds of blessed lands and rare natural resources, etc., too many to count. Many cultivators could only dream of finding these things, yet they could be found everywhere. According to Su San's introduction, there are no less than 30 ancient ruins similar to the level of the Holy Empire in the eastern region. There are still many that are still silent and unknown to the public. Perhaps the white-blue flower in my body will affect the place and awaken some of them, Qin Nan murmured. 4 days and 4 nights were gone fairly quickly. Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye human immortal finally arrived close to the sacred kingdom. Unlike the other ancient ruins, the sacred kingdom had been awakened more than 2,000 years ago. Many cultivators had been venturing into the sacred kingdom to explore it. Most of the inheritances and all kinds of natural treasures had been taken away. The remaining places were filled with unknown terrors, and cultivators did not dare to enter them recklessly. As such, the number of cultivators who came to the sacred kingdom gradually decreased over the past 200 years, unless they were looking for the whereabouts of the immortal blessing resources. As such, Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal simply went to one of the 30 different entrances. Qin Nan raised his brows. Just a moment ago, he saw 8 human immortals and an Earth Immortal Realm cultivator in the distance. They were disappearing at a shocking pace in the blink of an eye. Qin Nan, are those people from the primordial tribe? The Blood-Eye Human Immortal asked softly. Senior, how did you know? Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment. Normally, he would not pay attention to the human immortals and earth immortals, but he noticed something different from the auras they were emitting. I've mastered the true scriptures of the ultimate life Tao. The blood eye that I used to execute has evolved into the ultimate life blood eye. The blood eye human immortal wore a smug look. Congratulations, Senior. The people of these tribes wouldn't show up here for no reason. Let's go inside. Qin Nan said. The 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda could sell the information about the rare resources a second time if they did not pay a huge price to buy them out. The 10,000-layer Immortal Pagoda might even sell the information to someone else. The two of them moved and entered a gate of light, arriving at the Holy Empire. The Sacred Kingdom was no longer as magnificent as it was when it was still alive due to the erosion of time and the influx of countless cultivators. The place was in ruins as far as the eye could see. Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal Pagoda did not stop. They proceeded according to the directions on the map. Even though the Sacred Kingdom was no longer as glorious as before, it was still a dangerous place. Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal had stumbled into a lot of danger along the way. Many cultivators had set their eyes on them, but they did not dare to do anything when they sensed Qin Nan's aura. Around 40 hours later, Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal Pagoda finally came to a stop. Chapter 1742. Unlike before, a magnificent forest appeared in front of them. Each ancient tree in this forest had grown to a height of 15 meters, and some of them were more than 30 meters tall. The trunks were thick and straight, and each leaf contained an ancient aura. According to the map, the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree were located deep inside the ancient forest. On top of it, the map also had a label. The place was extremely dangerous. Over the past 2,000 years, more than 30 peerless rulers and a few hundred peak heaven immortals had died in the place. Qin Nan took a deep breath. He did not dare to underestimate the place. He entered the forest together with the Blood-Eye Human Immortal. As they continued to go deeper, the two of them felt an indistinct mysterious power coming from the unseen world. It actually suppressed their auras until they were completely gone. In other words, even if a peerless ruler was using his divine sense or eye technique to scan the place, the peerless ruler would not be able to see them. It was a good thing for Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal. A few hours were gone fairly quickly. Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye Human Immortal gradually went deeper into the forest. The magnificent ancient forest began to reveal its sinister side. The seemingly alluring resources, the peaceful grassland, etc., all possessed a strong murderous aura. Among them, there were several killing intent. Even if a celestial immortal cultivator encountered them, it would be difficult for them to escape. Qin Nan, there's a strong smell of blood ahead. Many people are fighting there. The Blood-Eye Human Immortal sniffed with a stern look. Qin Nan was startled. Did someone really set their eyes on the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree too? Could it be the people of the primordial tribes? Having this thought, Qin Nan unleashed his immortal force to speed up. In just a short while, he was able to see many figures fighting one another with his powerful eye power. Among these figures, many of them had flames of different colors surging all over their bodies. There was also a group of people who had the word Gu engraved on their foreheads in different shade. Another group of people had celestial shadows floating behind them. In total, there were more than 100 of them. None of them were weak. There were only a few peak human immortals. Most of them were earth immortals. There were even a few heaven immortals. Thus, even though no sound could be heard, one could still feel that the collision between each of their moves and styles gave rise to enormous energy fluctuations, and countless astral winds swept out. The ancient trees around them were also destroyed and turned into nothingness. The ground was a mess, as if a small battlefield had been opened up. Qin Nan, these are all from the ancient race. Those who released the flames are probably from the Nongyan race, one of the 100 great races. What should we do now? The Blood-Eye human immortal said with a solemn expression. Every ancient clan was a colossal existence to ordinary cultivators. They did not dare to provoke them, let alone the 100 great ancient clans. Qin Nan, on the other hand, was relieved. Judging from their surroundings, these people should not have obtained the immortal repelling tree and the 8-eyed yin-yang flower. Just as he was about to speak, a voice suddenly came from behind him. Old thing, what are you doing? What kind of person am I? Why would I need to find someone to work with? Are you out of your mind? Don't worry, I'll guide you. The person's mouth seemed to be covered by someone, preventing him from making any sound. Qin Nan was startled. Why did the voice and the tone sound so familiar? Hee, cultivators in front, you must have seen it too. There are 3 people from the ancient race fighting in front. You are going to die if you go up alone. Why don't you join me? The 8 Brilliance Demon. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was dragging a young man toward Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye human immortal with a smile. However, his smile froze when Qin Nan turned around and saw Qin Nan's face. In addition to the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor, the young man who was struggling in his hand froze too. Qin Nan? Why are you here? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor and the young man blurted out simultaneously. What a coincidence, I didn't think we would stumble into each other in the 4th immortal realm. By the way, how did you two know each other? Qin Nan could not help but grin when he saw the two. His eyes flickered with curiosity. The young man beside the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was none other than the core disciple of the illusionary immortal Tao Gate, Xiao Shunliang. Among the peerless geniuses during the immortal ascension tide, Qin Nan had a very deep impression of Xiao Shunliang. It was on par with Lin Huixing. The man was born with a sharp tongue. Even when he was defeated, even when his cultivation was weaker than his opponent, he could not help but mock his opponent. Hee, Qin Nan, we're really fated to meet each other. Xiao Shunliang and I know each other, it's a long story. I happened to run. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor blurted out the details with a surprised look. However, he suddenly screamed in the end and fled for his life. Qin Nan, I'm in a good mood today. I won't waste my time arguing with someone like you. Otherwise, someone like you. Xiao Shunliang ran away too. He did not forget to mock Qin Nan too. The former was both scared and hateful toward Qin Nan. He hated how unlucky he was every time he stumbled into Qin Nan. He even lost a lot of his crystals in the end. He was scared because Qin Nan was no longer a match for him, not to mention the fact that Qin Nan was supported by Empress Feiyue. As such, he only wanted to run for his life. Even if he could not defeat Qin Nan, he could still run away. As for the latter, he subconsciously followed the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor when he saw the latter running away. You two are old acquaintances, why are you running away as soon as you see me? Qin Nan said with a calm smile. He flicked his finger and fired 2 shocking saber intents over 10 zhang away, leaving 2 shocking ravines on the ground. He was well aware of the two's personalities, especially the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor. He was never one to put himself at a disadvantage. He must have known something since he suddenly showed up in the Sacred Kingdom. He must be planning something. He happened to be clueless about the situation in the Sacred Kingdom. How could he possibly let them run away? Qin Nan, what are you trying to do? You treated me badly in the past, and I've already run away, yet you still won't let me go? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said furiously. He even had a wronged look, like an injured woman. What did I do to you in the past? Qin Nan was startled. You, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor, was about to burst out cursing when he suddenly realized that Qin Nan was indeed unaware that his crystals and rare artifacts were taken away. It was at this time that bang. Chapter 1743. The unclaimed land of Tao. The towering ancient trees began to dance despite the absence of wind. Wave-like ripples appeared in the void and spread out in all directions. Among the cultivators of the 3 ancient tribes who were fighting in the distance, many with weaker cultivations immediately felt a great impact. They were in great pain. Apart from Qin Nan, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor groaned and executed his demonic arts too. The Blood-Eye Human Immortal and Xiao Shunliang unleashed their immortal glows to resist the impact with all their might. They barely managed to calm their thoughts. The voice of immortals and demons that rang out all contained incomparably powerful wills. If any cultivator below the human immortal realm heard it, they would be left with serious injuries instantly. You've ascended to the human immortal realm? Qin Nan's attention was caught by Xiao Shunliang's words. Xiao Shunliang was placed in the ownerless heaven pattern during the immortal ascension tide, but he failed to ascend as an immortal. Even though it was not necessary to enter the immortal ancient places to become a human immortal, it was a lot more difficult to do so. Humph, what's the big deal about ascending to the human immortal realm? Even someone like you can reforge your Tao foundation. A dragon among men like me can easily ascend to the human immortal realm. Xiao Shunliang said proudly. Shaoliang, how shameless can you be? How are you going to ascend to the human immortal realm if you don't use the forbidden art? You've been expelled from the illusionary immortal Tao Gate. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor cast a disdainful look at Xiao Shunliang. Old prick, you! Xiao Shunliang was immediately infuriated. He had finally found a chance to put on a show. Did the old prick really have to expose him? Damn it, the immortal demon resonance, the heavens and earth are changing colors. Those guys are about to enter the place. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor ignored Xiao Shunliang. He stared into the distance with a jealous look. What's going on in there? Who's coming? Qin Nan asked calmly. There's someone in there, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor blurted out subconsciously, but he quickly collected his thoughts before he could finish. He said alertly, Don't you think you can trick me into telling you anything? Go take a look yourself if you want to know. Qin Nan didn't reply. He smiled faintly and said, There must be a shocking treasure inside, right? And there were many experts fighting over it? Why don't we work together? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor chuckled. You're asking me to team up with you? Bah, this prince has joined hands with you twice, and it never ended well. We are not on the same path. Goodbye. His face was filled with determination as he turned around and left. Although Qin Nan had rebuilt his Taoist foundation and was now very powerful, even if they joined forces, there was only a glimmer of hope. Not to mention, back then in the Supreme Cave abode, he had tears of blood in his eyes and swore in his heart that he would never walk together with this god of misfortune, Qin Nan, let alone join forces with him. I still have 2 strands of Autarka's will that I can use. Qin Nan said calmly. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor halted in his tracks. Xiao Shunliang shuddered too. Is what you said true? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor swallowed his saliva and asked. When have I ever lied to you? Qin Nan said sternly. I don't think you've ever lied to me. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor recalled for a moment. His determined expression was replaced by excitement, If we have 2 strands of Audarka's will and our cultivation, we'll have a 30% chance of winning. Qin Nan, let's work together. That poisonous oath can go to hell. Xiao Shunliang added. That's right, even though you're nowhere as strong as me, I'm willing to give you a chance since you're so sincere. Let's work together. A mocking grin appeared on Qin Nan's face after seeing their reaction. Why are you teaming up now? Didn't you say we're not on the same path? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor wore a confused look. Did I say that? Xiao Shunliang said righteously. I can vouch for him, he didn't say that. The Blood-Eye human immortal was dumbfounded. One of them was a peerless ruler, while the other was a core disciple of the illusionary immortal Tao Gate. How could they be so shameless? Qin Nan was unmoved. He said with an indifferent grin, even so, you have a human immortal and an earth immortal. I don't think you have the right to work together with us with just a little bit of information, right? How is that possible? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor wore a proud look. I'm the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor. Do you think I lack any tricks up my sleeves? Don't you worry, if I don't have any tricks up my sleeves, I won't take anything from you. Qin Nan gave him a thoughtful look. He did not ask any further and said, All right, tell me, what's the immortal demon resonance all about? What are they fighting for? He pointed at the 3 people of the primordial tribes who were fighting in the distance. There's nothing much to say about them. They just found something good and wanted to claim it, so they ended up fighting each other. Xiao Shunliang wore a disdainful look, as if the heaven immortals were not worthy of his attention. That's true, there's nothing worth paying attention to. However, the Nongyan tribe, Wu Yi tribe, Wengu tribe, Extreme Living Gate, and the ancient Bodhi Temple have sent some peerless rulers, heaven immortals, and peerless geniuses here. There are also people of other primordial tribes and rogue cultivators. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said. Oh. Qin Nan frowned and said, Are they here for the immortal blessing resources? 3 primordial tribes and 2 supreme Taoism factions. It was rare to see such a lineup in ancient ruins like the Sacred Kingdom. Not exactly, they are here for an unclaimed blessed immortal land. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor shook his head and said, The immortal demon resonance just now means they are about to break through the barrier of the unclaimed blessed immortal land. They will soon enter the place. Qin Nan and the Blood-Eye human immortal exchanged glances with one another. They could see the astonishment in each other's eyes. Why would there be an unclaimed blessed immortal land here? The place ahead was exactly where the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree were recorded on the map. If there was an unclaimed blessed immortal land, the place ahead of them was definitely a great treasure trove. If the people of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda knew about it, the value of the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree would at least double. There would be more primordial tribes and supreme Taoism factions here too. What was going on? Did it mean that it had been a long time since the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda learned about the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree? Did the heavens and earth nurture a blessed immortal land in the past few years? Interesting. Chapter 1744. Just a spark in less than half an hour, Qin Nan and the others arrived at the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's hideout. They lifted their gaze and saw the towering ancient trees gradually thinning out, revealing a spacious white grassy plain. The end of the plain was covered in a purple mist. The mist was not ordinary. It looked both real and illusionary with an ancient aura. It was emitting a strong blue glow with a shocking Tao intent. It was the Tao barrier. Every unclaimed blessed immortal land would be encapsulated by a Tao barrier when it was born. Only by breaking the Tao barrier with brute force could a cultivator enter the blessed immortal land and find the Tao eye to refine it. The cultivator would then become the master of the blessed immortal land. Currently, a few dozen peerless rulers were floating in the sky in front of the Tao barrier. They were executing ancient Tao arts to smash at the Tao barrier. The people of the primordial tribes, the cultivators of the two supreme Taoism factions, and the rogue cultivators were fighting one another for some reason, resulting in a series of explosions. Qin Nan glanced at the blood-eye human immortal. The blood-eye human immortal immediately came up with an excuse and left the hideout. Meanwhile, Qin Nan was focusing on a few figures in the middle of a battle. The figures consisted of 3 young men and 2 young women. One of the young men was engulfed in purple flames with a terrifying destructive intent. His cultivation had reached the 8th layer Earth Immortal Realm, the minor success stage of the Tao realm. He was comparable to the core disciples of the supreme Taoism factions. In addition to it, the young man's aura was similar to the young man Qin Nan stumbled into at the 10,000 layer Immortal Pagoda at the beginning, but the young man was slightly stronger. The other 2 young men and 2 young women were geniuses from the Wengu tribe, the ancient Bodhi Temple, the Extreme Living Gate and the Wu Yi tribe. They had all probed the Tao realm, and were around the 3rd layer Earth Immortal Realm. That genius from the Nongyan tribe is called Zhu Zihuang. He's ranked in the top 10 core disciples of the Nongyan tribe. He was born with the easternmost flame. As for the rest, they are called Gu Julin, Jiujia, Kumeng, Du. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor was enjoying the show. He did not forget to introduce it to Qin Nan. On the way here, they had already come up with a plan. Once this group of people opened the Tao wall, they would follow them into the blessed immortal land. Now, he had to wait patiently. A moment later, the resonance between the heavens and earth grew louder. The purple wall of Tao began to tremble under the attacks of the peerless rulers. Cracks appeared one after another. Meanwhile, the blood-eye human immortal returned with a confused look. He transmitted his voice, Qin Nan, I've checked the surroundings. This unclaimed path is quite spacious around. After the blood-eye human immortal finished speaking, Qin Nan lowered his head and fell into deep thought. He had asked the blood-eye human immortal to leave so he could investigate if the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree were located before or after the unclaimed blessed immortal land. However, from the looks of it, it must be in the blessed immortal land. Bang! Just at this moment, another earth-shattering sound rang out, and a 15-foot long and 80-foot wide hole immediately appeared on the huge purple wall. The immortal demon resonance between the heavens and earth immediately disappeared. An indescribable strong immortal intent surged out of the cave like a raging tide. Fellow cultivators, can we call a truce now? A peerless ruler of the ancient Bodhi Temple, a monk in a grey kasaya, placed his palms together and said, "Since there's an entrance, we'll stick to our agreement. The others will go in first and we'll go in last. We'll work together to close the Tao wall." The other peerless rulers nodded. They transmitted their thoughts and gave a few instructions. Zhu Zihuang, Gu Julin, Jiujia, Kumeng, Duyuyu, and the rest of the geniuses led the cultivators of their respective factions into the blessed immortal land. F***ck, these old fogies, how can they be so cowardly? They even thought of this. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's face darkened instantly. Humph, it's reasonable for them to be so cowardly when they know I'm here. However, they didn't even ask me to go in first. Xiao Shunliang mocked the peerless rulers. What are you implying? This is an unclaimed blessed immortal land, yet you're not letting anyone in? Suddenly, a huge pit appeared in the distance. A few dozen cultivators came out from it. The heaven immortal leading them snap. That was not all. Cultivators appeared in the clouds, in the void, in the boulders, and so on. Even Qin Nan was astounded by the sight. He was busy observing the geniuses, thus he did not pay much attention to his surroundings. He did not expect so many people to be hiding, including a few peerless geniuses and experts who were only a step away from achieving the peerless ruler realm. "If you don't like it, let's fight," the peerless ruler of the extreme living gate said coldly. The cultivators were startled. Even so, they did not dare to move. They were trying their best to come up with a plan. They were planning to be the oriole behind the mantis stalking the cicada. It was meaningless to say anything else now. "They have already closed the Tao barrier," the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said while looking at Qin Nan. Xiao Shunliang wanted to say something, but the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor kicked him to prevent him from mocking him again. "Let's go." Qin Nan immediately made up his mind. His gaze sharpened. Judging from the situation, they had no choice but to enter the blessed immortal land. Even if they failed to find the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree, they could still leave the place and continue searching for them. Sky stride blow. Qin Nan transmitted his thoughts to the 3 peerless rulers. He unleashed his aura and unleashed all his immortal force. He showed up in front of the peerless rulers following a whoosh. He slashed forward with the saber in his hand. A saber intent in the shape of a crescent moon appeared between the heavens and earth. Someone is making a move? The cultivators on the valley were stunned. Even the peerless rulers who were trying to close the Tao barrier were stunned too. Was the person making a move an earth immortal? However, no one was aware of it, including Qin Nan. Since Qin Nan had arrived at the Eastern Realm, the white-blue flower had been constantly influencing the ancient ruins. Currently, its invisible force was gradually taking effect, causing the ancient ruins to experience strange changes one after another. Chapter 1745. Before the calm down, a mere earth immortal dares to act recklessly here. The peerless ruler of the Nongyen tribe had a fiery temper. He snapped as soon as he collected his thoughts. Golden flames burst out of his body. He formed a hand seal with one hand, preparing to unleash a supreme immortal technique. Qin Nan? The peerless ruler of the extreme living gate could not believe his eyes. He was at the Sky Taihuang sect during the Battle of the Strongest Immortal, thus he had a strong impression of Qin Nan. He immediately recognized him. Qin Nan? The strongest immortal whose Tao foundation was destroyed, Qin Nan? The peerless ruler of the Nongyen tribe was stunned once again. He did not even execute his immortal art. The rest of the peerless rulers and the cultivators shared the same reaction too. They had all heard of Qin Nan's name and his achievements. However, why would he show up here? Besides, how did his cultivation improve to the peak Earth immortal realm in just a few months? Qin Nan, what a coincidence! The peerless ruler of the extreme living gate collected his thoughts. He wore a cold grin. It just so happens that there's still a debt between us. It's time to settle it. As soon as he finished the sentence, his body expanded more than 10 times. A strong will of extreme life gathered on his palm as he slammed it at Qin Nan. The rift within a few dozen li was shattered into pieces. The powerful saber intent that Qin Nan unleashed was shattered by the palm too. Almsgiver Qin, you have to pay back the debts you owe. Ami, Buddha. The old monk of the ancient Bodhi temple uttered a chant. Wisps of Bodhi glow appeared in the rift nearby. One after another, glaring warriors appeared and stared at Qin Nan. Even though they were not enemies of Qin Nan, and Qin Nan's Tao foundation was destroyed too, thus he was no longer a threat to them. However, since they had encountered it, they would definitely not let it go. A heaven immortal is no match for a peerless ruler. Qin Nan's blood-red hair danced in the wind. At this moment, he felt an immense pressure that made it hard for him to breathe. Even if he executed all his arts of Tao seeking and the Tao jolting saber art, he still could not resist the two move. Qin Nan immediately activated Supreme Chang Zhao's badge without any hesitation. Boom! The will of a nine heavens supreme burst out. The light in the surroundings turned dark as a magnificent, illusionary figure glanced down at the crowd like the ruler of the heavens and earth, and threw out a slap. The will of a nine heavens supreme? The two peerless rulers that attacked and the rest of the peerless rulers were startled. They immediately took out rare artifacts and executed different immortal arts to protect themselves. Following this, a few terrifying blasts echoed in all directions. The gap on the Dao wall that was only a few dozen zhang wide expanded by 3 times. The overwhelming force knocked the peerless rulers flying. Some of the weaker ones groaned in pain as they were hit by the impact. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor and his crew immediately took hold of the opportunity and flew to Qin Nan's side at a shocking pace. Qin Nan waved his hand and unleashed a formidable immortal force encapsulating the 3 peerless rulers. He then executed the unstoppable step and turned into a ray of light disappearing into the unclaimed land of Dao. Damn it, Supreme Chang Shao even gave him the will of a nine heavens supreme. The peerless ruler of the extreme living gate wore a dark expression as he nullified the force. Even the core disciples of the extreme living gate and other factions would struggle to possess the will of a nine heavens supreme. The reason being that a nine heavens supreme would inflict serious damage upon himself by extracting his will. Fellow cultivators, I'll go after Qin Nan with immortal Emperor Jiangjue. Why don't you stay here and repair the Dao wall? The old monk of the ancient Bodhi temple said. The other peerless rulers exchanged glances with one another. The peerless ruler of the Nongyan tribe harumphed and said, "We'll go with you. The kid might still have the will of a nine heavens supreme. We can't afford to let our guard down. As for this place, 2 of us will be enough." Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the old monk exchanged glances with one another. They nodded when they realized the others did not take the bait. They proceeded forward together. The hundreds of cultivators on the plain were dumbfounded. They did not expect Qin Nan to have such an outstanding move to break through the peerless rulers. Meanwhile, in the 9th space of the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda, most of the people in the 10,000 palaces were earth immortals, heaven immortals, and a few peerless rulers. 9 heaven supremes were stationed in the heavy hall. Currently, in a room on the top floor of the heavy hall, Supreme Wuqiu was concentrating on setting up an ancient tea set. The crystal-clear tea was like an ancient dragon in his hands. "Senior Wuqiu, I have something urgent to report." Suddenly, a figure rushed into the room. It was Heaven Immortal Su Lai. "What is it?" Supreme Wuqiu frowned slightly. Brewing tea was one of his hobbies. He liked to immerse himself in it when he was in a bad mood. He hated being disturbed the most during such times. Su Lai wiped his sweat and said, "For some reason, the Crow River, the Weeping Ghost Path, and the Wanjian immortal sect in the Eastern Realm are experiencing shocking changes. Immortal glows soared into the sky with rare phenomena. It seems like some shocking successions or artifacts have appeared." He mentioned the names of more than 10 ancient ruins in a single breath. 3 of them were ancient existences on par with the Sacred Kingdom. "That doesn't sound right. You should send someone to investigate it." Supreme Wuqiu said calmly, "By the way, Su Lai, you shouldn't be so reckless when it comes to such trivial matters." After the incident with Qin Nan, he felt that Su Lai was not a bad person. He had purposely promoted Su Lai to be his subordinate. It was necessary for him to warn Su Lai. However, before he could finish his sentence, Su Lai's badge suddenly glowed. Su Lai subconsciously glanced at it, and his expression immediately froze. "There's also the old immortal forest and the flaming cloud city. There's also a change." It was another 5 names of ancient ruins. Even Supreme Wuqiu was startled by the sight. As a 9 heavens supreme, he was well aware that something shocking must have happened when so many ancient ruins in the Eastern Realm were showing signs of unusual changes. Supreme Wuqiu nodded slightly. He knocked his finger on the table and said, "If that's the case, relay my order, let's." Su Lai's badge glowed again. He was stunned when he scanned it with his divine sense. Chapter 1746. The waves continued to rise. Chapter 1754. Ancient ruins. The waves continued to rise. The 10,000-layer immortal pagoda had been keeping an eye on the three ancient ruins. Even though they were not as impressive as the sacred nation, once they were discovered, it would bring them a great fortune. They might even find some rare artifacts too. Supreme Wuchio's eyes flickered with astonishment. More than 10 ancient ruins had shown unusual changes, and 3 ancient ruins had shown themselves. The changes that were taking place secretly would not be ordinary. Very well. You can leave now. You don't have to worry about it. The 10,000-layer immortal pagoda will be holding soon. Supreme Wuchio finally placed his attention on it. At that instant, Su Lai's badge emitted a few rays of light. Su Lai's face was filled with astonishment when he scanned the badge with his divine sense. What's going on now? Supreme Wuchio's eyelids jumped. What was going on today? Why was there no end to it? Say, Senior, we just received news that the place where Qin Nan went to the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree is now an unclaimed blessed land. Su Lai said. Holy crap! That kid is so lucky. Even Supreme Wuchio could not help but curse. However, he was already used to such things. The 10,000-layer immortal pagoda was not familiar with everything that happened in the realm of chaos. Some of the news was from a few hundred years ago, thus they had no idea what happened after that. That's not the point. Su Lai barely collected his thoughts. He swallowed his saliva and said, Just a moment ago, we received news from the Western Realm. The ancient ruins in the Western Realm are showing unusual changes too. Supreme Wuchio's eyes widened upon hearing the words. Meanwhile, the unclaimed land of the Eastern Realm's sacred nation, Qin Nan and his crew were flying rapidly. In front of them was a spacious purple space. There were golden, red, white, and many other elements that formed mountains, rivers, and wood. In addition to it, wisps of formidable qi encapsulated their figures. It felt like they were in an ocean of qi. Every inch of space was filled with astonishing immortal intent. The immortal intent was different from the immortal intent of the realm of chaos and the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda. It contained a faint hint of Tao presence and an indescribable weight. After absorbing a little, his mind would be clear. Tao sounds would echo in his ears. The invisible and ethereal heaven seemed to appear in front of him, right in front of him. Every blessed immortal land had a unique will. The immortal will of the unclaimed Tao land was not only useful to Tao realm cultivators, but also had other profound uses. Just the first point alone was enough to make people scramble like duck. However, Qin Nan's group of 4 was not in the mood to pay attention to this. The reason for that was because strands of invisible murderous intent had traveled a great distance to wrap around their back. In other words, the 4 of them were unable to shake off the peerless rulers too far away. If they stayed any longer, or some time passed, the peerless rulers would catch up to them. These people are really shameless. So what if he was a peerless ruler? He's just SOSO. If they really infuriated me, I can eliminate them with a flip of my hand. Xiao Shunliang was panicking. He quickly ran away, yet he did not forget to mock the peerless rulers. The faces of Qin Nan and the others darkened. They had the urge to kick the peerless rulers over. 8 brilliance, are you still trying to hide your strength? Besides, don't even think about using my supreme will. I only have one left. Once I use it, we won't have any chance of winning. Qin Nan glanced at the peerless rulers. Cough cough, am I that kind of person? The 8 brilliance demon emperor blushed. He no longer feigned ignorance. He took out a white bone and uttered a chant before spitting out 4 drops of demon blood onto it. Whoosh! 4 blinding blood rays burst out of the bone and entered Qin Nan's body. Qin Nan was startled. He felt a steady stream of energy surging into his legs. His speed immediately increased by more than 10 times. Where did this bone come from? How is it able to strengthen someone's speed so significantly? Qin Nan was astounded. If he used the bone to strengthen his strength, wouldn't his speed increase by 10 times too? This is the leg bone of the Heaven Wind Demon Highness. It can't strengthen anyone except for one's movement. It can only be used once a day. How is it? Impressive, right? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said proudly. Impressive. The peerless rulers behind them were startled when they noticed the increase in speed of Qin Nan and the others. They immediately executed their moves to increase their speed without any hesitation. Qin Nan and the others were startled when they noticed it. Fortunately, the unclaimed blessed immortal land was not very big. After flying for a while, they had arrived at the depths of the blessed immortal land. Everything around them had turned purple, like an ancient purple ocean. As they ventured deeper, apart from sensing the presence of qi and immortal intent, Qin Nan and the others could vaguely see the outline of an island in the distance. The island was the core of the blessed immortal land. The Tao I must be on it. This is the only place in the blessed immortal land. If the 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree exist, they would only be on it. Let's hope Zhu Zihuang and the others haven't discovered it yet, Qin Nan murmured. However, Qin Nan's eyes suddenly widened. The 8 luminaries demon god and the others were astounded too. They had all seen the true appearance of the island. The island was not too huge. It was only a few hundred li across. It was covered in ancient trees and all kinds of strange flowers and plants. It was quite beautiful. However, at the center of the island stood a giant gate around 30 zhang tall and 10 zhang wide. The gate was emitting a blue glow. It was impossible to tell where it led to. There were several tens of people from the various ancient clans standing before the enormous gate. Zhu Zihuang and the others had all disappeared. It was obvious that they had entered the giant gate. Holy crap! Isn't this a blessed immortal land? Why is there a gate here? The 8 luminaries demon emperor blurted out. Even though he had seen a lot, he had never seen such a strange scene. Chapter 1747. The Glaze Ancient Palace. Either way, we have to go inside and take a look, Qin Nan said after collecting his thoughts. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor nodded in agreement. Although he was very puzzled, there was an old saying that said that there must be something fishy going on when things are abnormal. In the 9 Heavens immortal realm, anything that was out of the ordinary was most likely related to a shocking secret or some astounding artifact. Who are you? The people of the primordial tribe guarding the gate soon noticed the group of 4. They immediately yelled and unleashed the immortal force in their bodies. They initially thought there was no need for them to guard the gate since there were more than 10 peerless rulers guarding the gate, but to their surprise, someone actually made their way to the gate. Whoosh! Qin Nan did not waste any time. He executed the sky stride blow and landed on the cultivators before throwing a punch forward. The cultivators of the primordial tribes were startled. They immediately backed away and defended themselves with their move. However, most of them were only peak human immortals. Only 3 of them were earth immortals, and they were below the 5th layer earth immortal realm. How could they possibly defend themselves against Qin Nan's punch? Following a series of explosions, they were knocked flying. Qin Nan and the others immediately went into the gate. Qin Nan and the others felt their bodies becoming lighter as the scenery before them changed rapidly. They found themselves in a different space within the blink of an eye. Qin Nan and the others calmed their thoughts and lifted their gaze. Their eyes widened following a glimpse. The group of four arrived at a spacious ruin with no visible end in sight. The place was covered in ravines with chaotic auras. Some of the ravines even had rotten corpses inside them. Not far ahead of them were a few hundred stone statues. The statues consisted of old men, young children, young women, young men, etc. They all had different expressions, as if they were living in a different world. However, the stone statues were all doing the same thing. They were kneeling on the ground with their hands reaching out in the same direction, as if they were performing some kind of ritual to worship an ancient emperor. Looking in the direction the stone statue was pointing at, one could vaguely see a majestic palace made of some kind of colored glass floating in the air. Even though Qin Nan's eye technique was unable to see through the palace instantly, Qin Nan, the Eight Brilliance Demon Emperor, and the others sharply sensed an unimaginable pure immortal intent from the palace. They had a feeling that the palace was on par with the unclaimed blessed immortal land outside the giant bronze gate. In fact, from a certain point of view, the pure immortal aura that this palace contained was of a much higher level than the pure immortal aura that was purple in color. Thus, it was even more valuable. Holy crap! Could this palace be the core of the unclaimed blessed immortal land? The Eight Brilliance Demon Emperor collected his thoughts. The core of any blessed immortal land had a lot more pure immortal intent than the other places. Even though he had never seen the core of a blessed immortal land with such a pure immortal intent, his speculation was quite plausible. How did you get in here? A cold yell came from ahead. On the other side, Zhu Zihuang, Gu Julin, Jiu Jie, Kumeng, Duyueyu, and the rest of the cultivators glanced at them in astonishment when they sensed the presence of Qin Nan and his crew. Meanwhile, Immortal Emperor Jiangjue, the old monk in a grey robe, and the rest of the peerless rulers appeared on the ruins. When they saw the scene in front of them, their pupils shrank. Waves of shock surged in their hearts, and they were filled with deep suspicion. However, they soon calmed their thoughts when they saw Qin Nan and his crew. Qin Nan, die! Immortal Emperor Jiangjue yelled thunderously as he unleashed his immortal force. They're here already? Qin Nan and his crew were startled. They immediately flew forward. Is that young man Qin Nan whose Dao foundation was destroyed? Zhu Zihuang, Gu Julin, and the rest of the cultivators were startled. Zhu Zihuang, Gu Julin, and the rest of the peerless geniuses were the core disciples of various ancient tribes and supreme Taoism factions, thus they were more concerned about Qin Nan than the others. Wait a second. Zhu Zihuang suddenly thought of something and yelled, "You can't fight here. Once you do, the hundreds of stone statues will wake up and kill you." Immortal Emperor Jiangjue's figure stiffened upon hearing the words. He quickly glanced around and saw 3 corpses whose blood had yet to dry lying in a crack. He also knew the 3 corpses when he was still alive. They were all 8th-layer heaven immortals. Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the rest of the peerless rulers were soaked in cold sweat when they realized how eerie the place was. If Zhu Zihuang's warning had been a little slower, the hundreds of stone statues would have been alarmed. Even if they didn't die, they would at least be severely injured. Even 9 Heaven Supremes would suffer serious injuries if they were careless in these ancient ruins, let alone them. Seriously? The eyes of Qin Nan and his crew glittered. Humph, peerless rulers, why are you all scared now? How embarrassing, how embarrassing. I don't even have the mood to fight against enemies like you. Even though Xiao Shunliang was intimidated by the peerless rulers, he instinctively mocked them as soon as he spoke. You! Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the others were startled. They were peerless rulers. Since when were they treated like that? Not to mention the fact that the man was only a human immortal. What about me? Did I say anything wrong? I'm telling you, I was only running away to tease you. If I really did attack, you bunch of useless people. Xiao Shunliang continued with a disdainful look. The faces of Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the others darkened. Flames of anger surged in their hearts, yet they had no choice but to withhold it. Even Zhu Zihuang, Gu Julin, and the rest of the peerless geniuses could not stand it any longer. This Xiao Shunliang was seriously asking for it with his mouth. Cough cough. That's enough, we won't waste our time arguing with them. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor panicked when he saw the furious gazes. He quickly covered Xiao Shunliang's mouth to stop him from talking. They had just turned the situation around. If the peerless rulers lost their minds and attacked Xiao Shunliang recklessly, they would be in great trouble. Meanwhile, Qin Nan was looking at Xiao Shunliang with an astounded look. He initially thought Xiao Shunliang's mouth would only bring him trouble, yet he did not expect it to be so useful in a situation like this. He had the urge to slap the table and cheer. Humph! Chapter 1748. The duel, are they going inside? The Blood-Eye Human Immortal asked. I think so, let's go closer too, but let's not move for now. Zhu Zihuang, Gu Julin, and the others have been here for a long time, yet they have yet to enter the palace. There must be something fishy going on, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor said. Qin Nan nodded and flew forward. Zhu Zihuang, Gu Julin, and the rest of the cultivators were looking at Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the other peerless rulers. Only Zhu Zihuang kept looking at Qin Nan with glittering eyes. According to his brother, Qin Nan had an extraordinary immortal saber that surpassed ordinary Dao weapons? Let's attack together. Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the others soon arrived at the entrance of the palace. The former groaned while the others unleashed their auras. They executed their Dao arts and attacked the door simultaneously. Earlier, they had learned from Zhu Zihuang and the others that they were not allowed to attack anywhere in the strange ruins, except for the palace. The 3 heaven immortals had died because one of them had set his eyes on the statues. He tried to claim them, but unfortunately, he died and dragged the others into the mess. Bang! A huge blast echoed in the surroundings. Strong gusts of wind swept across the place. A few dozen peerless rulers had joined hands to attack Qin Nan with their strongest attacks. The power it contained was utterly terrifying. Even a half-martial 9 Heavens Supreme would have to back away from it. However, the glass door in front of him only shook violently. There wasn't even a crack on it. Even the immortal emperors can't open it? What exactly is this glazed palace? Zhu Zihuang, Gu Julin, and the rest of the cultivators were astounded. They had tried to open it before, yet they did not expect the glazed palace to have such a strong defense apart from the pure immortal intent it contained. Oh my, it would take at least 30 peerless rulers to break through the glazed door, and they would need a few extraordinary Dao weapons too. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor smacked his lips too. A strange light flashed in Qin Nan's eyes. If the lapis lazuli palace was only the core of an unclaimed blessed immortal land, it would not be so impressive. Moreover, when he thought about all the strange things that had happened before, he now had an almost certain thought in his mind. The 8-eyed yin and yang flower and the immortal repelling tree were inside the palace. Fellow cultivators, you've seen it too. Only a 9 Heavens Supreme or more than 30 peerless rulers are able to open the door. Immortal Emperor Jiangjue was not discouraged. His eyes flickered with astonishment as he spoke. Everyone has seen how mysterious the palace is. There's definitely something special inside. Why don't we ask our forces to send more people here? He did not use voice transmission when he said this. Qin Nan and the others were not fools. As long as they did not leave, they would definitely be able to guess that they would ask for help. This old monk has no problem. All right, I want to see what's inside this palace today. The old monk and the peerless rulers nodded in agreement after a slight ponder. It was such a strange blessed immortal land. Even though they might not be able to attract the attention of a 9 Heavens Supreme, they should be able to get some peerless rulers to show up. These guys are useless as expected. I was planning to do something. Since they have come up with a plan, I'll keep a low profile. Xiao Shunliang said disdainfully. Keep a low profile, my ass. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Do you seriously think you can mock them when you're planning to do something like that? Why don't you think we're going to survive if more than 30 peerless rulers show up? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor rolled his eyes. That being said, we're not allowed to use force here. Maybe it's not allowed inside the palace either. Either way, it's better to take risk, Qin Nan said calmly. He would not leave even if a 9 Heavens Supreme was here, let alone a peerless ruler. Hee, that's true, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's eyes glittered. It was impossible to tell what he was thinking. There's a huge change in the Eastern Realm and the Western Realm? Immortal Emperor Jiangjue soon learned something after sending the message. They exchanged glances with one another and saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. Qin Nan was startled. The white-blue flower was most likely the cause of the unusual changes in the Eastern Realm. However, he had never been to the Western Realm. Why would it change too? Many factions are on their way here after hearing about the unusual changes in the Eastern Realm. If that's the case, the rest of the peerless rulers will only need a few hours to make it here. Fellow cultivators, I'll take a look around. The peerless ruler of the Wengu tribe said with a smile before leaving. Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the others chatted for a while. They glanced at Qin Nan and his crew coldly before withdrawing their gazes. With their cultivation, they would not be able to do anything even if they managed to sneak into the palace. Besides, they might even be able to pick a fight inside the palace. They might even be able to take out the 4 of them, especially the kid called Xiao Shunliang. Zhu Zihuang, Gu Julin, and the rest of the cultivators scattered after learning that they would have to wait for a few hours. Zhu Zihuang lowered his head and fell into deep thought. A few moments later, his eyes glittered as a thought crossed his mind. Friend Qin Nan, right? I'm Zhu Zihuang from the Nongyan tribe. Zhu Zihuang went up to Qin Nan and brought his fists together. He said with a smile, I've long heard about your achievements. I've admired you for a long time. Now that I've finally met you, friend Qin Nan, you're no ordinary person. As soon as he opened his mouth, many people present were stunned. What was wrong with this Zhu Zihuang? Why was he taking the initiative to befriend Qin Nan? Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the peerless rulers frowned, yet they did not say a word. They simply watched in silence. Qin Nan said calmly, Cultivator Zhu, there's no need to be so courteous. Just say it if there's anything you want to say. Zhu Zihuang smiled and said, Haha, friend Qin Nan is a smart man. I'll be straightforward then. I heard friend Qin Nan has an extraordinary immortal saber. And I'm a saber lover too. The crowd was startled while Qin Nan squinted his eyes. How did Zhu Zihuang know about his heaven-shattering saber? Did the 10,000-layer immortal pagoda sell him the information? Zhu Zihuang added, If it's possible, I'll just rob it from you. Therefore, I've come up with an idea. I wonder if friend Qin Nan is willing to have a duel with me? Chapter 1749. Comparable to the Empress, everyone immediately came to a realization after hearing the word. No wonder Zhu Zihuang took the initiative to speak to Qin Nan despite the presence of a few dozen peerless rulers. Before Qin Nan could speak, Zhu Zihuang said with a calm smile, Of course, if I lose, this indistinct purple immortal flame seed is yours. He reached out his hand. A purple golden flame slowly floated out of it. Although it was only a small cluster, the temperature within a radius of tens of miles suddenly rose. Everyone present could feel that the flame contained an incomparably astonishing power. The indistinct purple immortal flame seed? TSK. It's definitely one of the top 10 flames in the Nongyan tribe. It seems like this Zhu Zihuang is really going all out just to lure Qin Nan into the duel. The surrounding cultivators from the ancient clan immediately recognized the origin of this flame. Many of them could not help but exclaim in surprise. Holy crap, That's some good stuff. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor's eyes widened. Qin Nan was startled too. He had merged the Tao-melting immortal flame with his immortal force. If he could refine the indistinct purple immortal flame seed, it would greatly benefit him. Besides, he had yet to fight any genius of the primordial tribes. Qin Nan, you're the strongest immortal. Don't tell me you're scared now that Zhu Zihuang is challenging you to a duel? Immortal Emperor Jiangjue let out a hollow laugh and glanced at many people. That's right, how could the strongest immortal be scared of a duel? Besides, it's a fair duel. Zhu Zihuang isn't bullying you with his cultivation. Haha, I think he's really scared. He doesn't dare to accept the duel. Many people immediately realized what Immortal Emperor Jiangjue was implying. Many cultivators were watching the duel with great interest. Everyone could tell that Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the others were simply trying to provoke Zhu Zihuang into accepting the duel. However, it was very effective in most cases. For example, Xiao Shenliang's continuous mocking had infuriated the peerless rulers. They almost lost their composure. Fellow Taoist Zhu, how can I not accept such a sincere challenge? However, we can't use force here. Where are we going to compete? Qin Nan asked as he was not too bothered by the words. Zhu Zihuang frowned. He pondered for a moment and said, "We can't fight here, but we can go outside. As long as both of us swear the immortal demon Tao oath, that will be enough." Saying this, he turned around and brought his fists together at Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the others. "I'm eager to get my hands on the saber. I hope you can forgive me and ask you to swear an immortal demon oath that you won't harm Qin Nan when you're outside." Immortal Emperor Jiangjue exchanged glances with one another and nodded slightly. Zhu Zihuang was a core disciple of the Nongyan tribe. His future was limitless, thus it was not a big deal to give him some face. Moreover, since Zhu Zihuang dared to take the initiative to challenge him, he must have absolute confidence in winning. They were also happy to see Qin Nan being defeated. Zhu Zihuang expressed his gratitude. He looked at the crowd and said, "I hope you can give me some face too. If anyone wants to spectate the duel, please swear an immortal demon oath in advance. Otherwise, I won't be able to face anyone." Almost every cultivator nodded in agreement. They had to give Zhu Zihuang some face. Besides, if they did not do so, Qin Nan would not put himself in danger. "Qin Nan, what do you think?" Zhu Zihuang collected his thoughts and said with a calm smile. Qin Nan nodded. He had to admit that this Zhu Zihuang was indeed flawless. He did not seem to have any problem with the process. Everyone was tempted to accept the challenge. 8 Brilliance, let me ask you, isn't the immortal demon oath a little unreliable? Qin Nan was not in a rush to answer. He transmitted his voice instead. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor had sworn an immortal demon oath in the land of immortal death, but he broke the oath and tried to devour Qin Nan. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor let out a cough and chuckled. "Don't worry, the immortal demon oath is very reliable. Even if they are capable of breaking the oath, they won't be able to break it within an hour." Qin Nan was relieved. He no longer had any concerns. "Very well, if I do as you say, I'll accept the duel." Qin Nan looked into Zhu Zihuang's eyes. But, Qin Nan paused for a moment. "But what?" "Qin Nan, Zhu Zihuang has already gone so far. What do you have to say?" The peerless ruler of the Nongyan tribe seemed displeased. Many people nodded too. "Go ahead." Zhu Zihuang slowly withdrew the smile on his face. "It's not a big deal, but you might not know that my cultivation is currently at the peak Earth Immortal realm. I've also reforged my Tao foundation, so there's no need for a fair duel. Just show me what you have," Qin Nan said calmly. The man had taken the initiative to propose a duel and even suggested a fair duel. He would not bully the man just because he was unaware that he had reforged his Tao foundation. If the man was willing to fight fair and square, he would defeat the man fair and square. I already noticed your cultivation is at the peak Earth Immortal realm, but I've also a what? You've reforged your Tao foundation? Zhu Zihuang's eyes widened as he collected his thoughts halfway through his sentence. Reforged my Tao foundation? In addition to him, Immortal Emperor Jiangjue, the peerless rulers, the peerless geniuses, and the rest of the cultivators were astounded too. Some of the cultivators could not believe their ears. Reforging the Tao foundation was no easy feat. Most importantly, it had only been 3 months since Qin Nan's Tao foundation was destroyed. How did Qin Nan do it? Did he have the full support of the Sky Taihuang sect? What do you think? Do you still dare to fight my little brother? Xiao Shunliang wore a disdainful look. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor twisted his lips. This guy's annoying mouth was really all-pervasive. He could find something to say about anything and come up with such a sarcastic remark. However, no one was able to refute Xiao Shunliang's words. Even Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the peerless rulers realized that Qin Nan was no longer the same Qin Nan who had fallen to rock bottom. The scene of him defeating 20 to 30 peerless geniuses on his own was extremely clear, as if it was still right in front of them. Immortal Emperor Jiangjue, in particular, had told Lin Huixing's master that Lin Huixing did not lend a hand at the crucial moment. Lin Huixing's master did not blame him. He fell silent for a moment and let out a sigh. If Qin Nan's Tao foundation was not destroyed, he would surely be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Empress in a few thousand years. How significant was it to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Empress? Chapter 1750. 1 against 5. The whole place fell silent. Zhu Zihuang's eyes were filled with a hint of confusion. He initially thought everything was under his control, yet Qin Nan's simple words immediately disrupted his plan. Could he still stand a chance against Qin Nan, who had reforged his Tao foundation? Cultivator Zhu, it's fine if it's not the right time to challenge me to a duel. Qin Nan did not mock Zhu Zihuang for going back on his words. He gave Zhu Zihuang a way out instead. A duel was different from normal duels. Normally, people were allowed to come up with all kinds of schemes, tricks, or even dirty tricks as long as they could win the duel. It did not matter if they were planning to rob their opponent's possessions or do anything else. It was a cruel world of cultivation. However, in a martial arts competition, the most important thing was the word competition and the word appointment. Zhu Zihuang immediately collected his thoughts. The confusion in his eyes dissipated. Should he fight or not? Did he still have a chance to win? He immediately made up his mind. He wore a stern look as his eyes burned passionately. Since I've challenged you to a duel, how can I back off now? It's hard to tell who's going to win in the end. He was one of the core disciples of the Nongyan tribe. A peerless genius was only a step away from becoming an exceptional genius. Immortal Emperor Jiangjue, the peerless rulers, and the rest of the cultivators collected their thoughts too. Wait! Immortal Emperor Jiangjue stepped forward all of a sudden. Qin Nan, you're the strongest immortal. You defeated almost 30 peerless geniuses in the past, yet you're only fighting Zhu Zihuang now. Isn't that a little unfair? Why don't you take on Zhu Zihuang and the others on your own? Immortal Emperor Jiangjue's eyes flickered coldly. So what if Qin Nan had reforged his Tao foundation? Many people had managed to reforge their Tao foundation in the past. He did not believe Qin Nan's strength would not be affected even if he reforged his Tao foundation. Moreover, he did not believe that Qin Nan had not only reached the peak of the Earth Immortal realm, but also recovered to the phenomenal success stage of the Tao realm in just 3 months. In other words, the current Qin Nan was still in a weakened state. Zhu Zihuang alone was definitely no match for him, but with the addition of the other 4, their chances of victory were very high. Even if Zhu Zihuang and the others were defeated, he would not lose anything. If Zhu Zihuang and his crew were lucky enough to win the duel, they would be able to kill Qin Nan and eliminate the potential threat in the cradle. 1 against 5? Many people's spirits were lifted. If they are willing, I have no problem with that, Qin Nan said calmly. However, the calmer he was, the more everyone present could feel the confidence and dominance of the first immortal. No, absolutely not. The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor waved his hand. You only have the indistinct purple immortal flame, yet you insist on fighting me 5 against 1. As for the other 4 of you, you have to at least take out something. Only then will it work. Immortal Emperor Jiangjue harumphed and said, We will offer something too. You don't have to say anything. Everyone, what do you think? He looked at the other peerless rulers. Martial uncle, I'm willing to accept the challenge. Gu Julin, Jiu Jie, Kumeng, and Du Yueyu from various factions stepped forward. Some did not hesitate, while others hesitated for a few moments, but they all volunteered in the end. Even Qin Nan was not afraid. What were they afraid of? Besides, they were interested to see what the so-called strongest immortal, Qin Nan, was capable of. Very well, we'll all swear an immortal demon oath. Immortal Emperor Jiangjue, the old monk in a grey robe, and the rest of the peerless rulers exchanged glances with one another. They made up their minds while swearing an immortal demon oath. Regardless of the outcome, they had to report it to their factions. They had no choice but to treat an exceptional genius who had risen again seriously. Soon, Qin Nan and his crew, Zhu Zihuang, and the rest of the cultivators swore an immortal demon oath and flew out of the gate. Currently, the Eastern Realm and the Western Realm were in a strange situation. Countless factions were making their way to the 2 realms. The 2 realms were going to fall into chaos soon. However, to everyone's surprise, a duel was taking place in an unclaimed blessed immortal land. Friend Qin Nan, nice to meet you. Zhu Zihuang and Gu Julin stood in a row and brought their fists together at Qin Nan. Previously, they were still looking down on Qin Nan, but now they were treating him with a serious attitude. Fellow cultivators, make your moves. Qin Nan's right arm shattered. He stood with the saber in his hand. It's indeed an extraordinary immortal saber. Zhu Zihuang's eyes glittered. He groaned and unleashed his immortal force. His aura skyrocketed as a formidable purple flame burst out of his body. The flame he was controlling was also the indistinct purple immortal flame, but it was no longer the same level as when he had just refined the fire seed. It had already reached the greater success stage. Gu Julin, Jiu Jie, and the others unleashed their cultivation too. Gu Julin, in particular, had the ancient symbol on his forehead glowing with an ancient aura. Du Yueyu too had the aura of calamity surrounding her body, forming an armor of calamity. Dragon's soaring art. Qin Nan did not show any mercy. His figure shuddered as the roar of dragons echoed in the surroundings. In the eyes of the cultivators, Qin Nan had turned into a peerless heavenly dragon descending upon the world. Burning 8 Desolates art. Ancient Bodhi Buddha. Will of the primordial era. Zhu Zihuang and the others performed hand seals. Flames, flickering Bodhi glows, ancient intense, sword intense, and calamities appeared in the air, destroying the pure immortal intent. The cultivators below the heaven immortal realm and many in the first and second layer of the heaven immortal realm were astounded. The 5 peerless geniuses, especially those who had achieved the minor success stage of the Tao realm or had reached the threshold of the Tao realm, were utterly terrifying when they attacked. However, a dragon's roar that sounded like the wrath of the heavens immediately suppressed the 5 cultivators' auras. Following it, 2 enormous dragon claws appeared out of nowhere and slapped at the 5 immortal arts, shattering them into pieces. Qin Nan had already secured the upper hand within the blink of an eye. So this is the strongest immortal? A peak human immortal murmured to himself in a daze. What's there to be surprised about? Qin Nan was able to survive 3 moves from me. Isn't it normal for him to achieve this? Chapter 1751. The one and only saber art. The cultivators cast disdainful glances at Qin Nan. The 8 brilliance demon emperor's expression darkened. He immediately kicked Qin Nan. That little prick had no idea how to behave himself. He even dared to mock his own people. Xiao Shunliang wore an awkward expression too. Even he did not understand why he would mock Qin Nan whenever he spoke. He could not control himself at all. Meanwhile, the battle between Qin Nan and the others grew fiercer. Zhu Zihuang and the others were not willing to surrender under the enormous pressure. They executed a series of immortal arts in coordination with one another. However, Qin Nan's cultivation was just too terrifying. His immortal eyes were observing them from top to bottom. The speed he was displaying was even more unbelievable, leaving them in the dust. Fellow Taoists, if we continue to fight like this, we have no chance of winning at all. Right now, the only thing we can do is to. Jiu Jie transmitted his voice. Let's do it. Zhu Zihuang and the others nodded. Zhu Zihuang was the first to make his move. He performed a hand seal, summoning huge stormy clouds from all directions. Purple flames poured down from the clouds like a rain of fire. Qin Nan swung the heaven-shattering saber. A shocking saber intent appeared like an invisible barrier. The flames were stopped when they were around 30 zhang away from him. They could not move any further. There is no tree in the Bodhi tree, nor is there a mirror. There is nothing in the first place, so how can there be dust? Jiu Jie leaped through the air, chanting Buddhist mantras. Under the gazes of countless onlookers, his figure slowly transformed into a towering tree, radiating an indescribable radiance. Wisps of will of the way permeated the surroundings. If it were an ordinary cultivator, his opponent's mind would definitely be in chaos and convert to Buddhism on their own accord, winning without a fight. Even a powerful peerless genius would be affected by it. It would cause them to lose their mind and cause them to lose their mind. For cultivators, it was not scary even if their dantian and meridians were shattered. The scariest thing was losing their mind. Once they lost their mind, they would lose their strength too. However, this terrifying move was completely useless in front of Qin Nan. Without being exaggerating, even a peerless ruler of the ancient Bodhi temple would struggle to influence his mind. Break! The saber in Qin Nan's hand was fired, resulting in a shocking glow. Bang! With a loud bang, the illusory figure of the legendary Bodhi tree was pierced through and shattered into pieces. Jiu Jie was also sent flying as if he had been struck by lightning. He spat out a mouthful of blood. 4 Saints' heavenly battle formation. However, Jiu Jie's attack was only a feint. Zhu Zihuang and the other 3 soared into the air like immortals. They stood in different positions and performed different hand seals. 1. The surrounding space trembled violently. The pure immortal intent within 100 li of the unclaimed blessed immortal land began to grow restless. Runes of a formation slithered across the place like giant snakes of the underworld and trapped Qin Nan within them. At that instant it felt like 4 ancient sages had appeared in the rift. They were staring down at Qin Nan coldly and giving him a merciless judgment. Kill! In addition to it, Zhu Zihuang and the other 3 peerless geniuses executed their strongest moves and attacked Qin Nan from 4 different directions. The formation that they had set up together was quite mystical. Once it was set up, they no longer needed to maintain the formation. They could continue to attack. As such, they were able to form 2 deadly traps. Nice. The eyes of immortal Emperor Jiangjue, the peerless rulers, and the heaven immortal authorities glittered. The 5 peerless geniuses who were core disciples were indeed extraordinary. As such, even Qin Nan would have a hard time dealing with them. Slash! Qin Nan let out a roar. The heaven-shattering saber that had already left his hand and flew into the distance unleashed a tremendous saber intent on its own. It slashed at 4 different directions. Bang bang bang! A series of explosions took place. Even the ordinary human immortals could tell that Qin Nan had already seen through the formation. He had set up a trap beforehand. The 4 sacred heaven-battling formation had been destroyed. Whoosh! It was not the end of it. Qin Nan charged at Zhu Zihuang and the other 3 peerless geniuses instead of backing away. His blood-red hair drifted wildly in the wind. Fist of the divine god of battle! Breaking all rules with a single force, Qin Nan let out a roar and unleashed his aura. A brilliant immortal glow burst out from his body like a pillar reaching into the sky. The pure immortal intent was blown away as he threw a punch forward. Bang! Under this punch, whether it was the flames or the ancient aura, everything was destroyed in an instant. The remaining power mercilessly hit the chests of the 4 people. That punch, such a terrifying fist art! The power of the punch is enough to kill a second-layer heaven immortal. The cultivators were dumbfounded. Even immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the peerless rulers were startled. Oh my, the kid is ridiculously strong, and he didn't even use his full strength. He didn't even use his saber art of Dao seeking, or the Dao glow and Dao intent in his body. The 8 brilliance demon emperor exclaimed in his heart. He was relieved too. It seemed like his decision to run away when he saw Qin Nan was the right one. If he tried to get his revenge, Qin Nan could easily kill him even without Empress Feiyue's interference. Bang! Following a soft thud, Zhu Zihuang's body dissipated into thin air. His condition was completely different from the other 4 peerless geniuses. Qin Nan raised his brows. He raised his head as he sensed something. A white rune suddenly appeared in the stormy clouds that were pouring down flames. The rune unleashed a terrifying absorption force and absorbed the stormy clouds. A fiery figure slowly appeared. It was none other than Zhu Zihuang. However, unlike before, Zhu Zihuang's flames now had a hint of Bodhi intent, ancient intent, calamity intent, and a hint of life intent. His aura significantly surpassed his previous level 2. He was like a peerless fire immortal that had descended upon the mundane world. Imperious, imperious! The pale faces of the severely injured Gu Julin and the others immediately reddened, as if they had used all their strength to let out a roar. Zhu Zihuang, defeat him! Chapter 1752. Pulling back in the tense situation. What's going on? Many of the cultivators were astonished. Haha, Zhu Zihuang had already planned this from the very beginning. The Zhu Zihuang that Qin Nan defeated at the beginning was only his fire clone. Even a powerful eye technique couldn't see through his fire clone. The peerless ruler of the Nongyan tribe burst out laughing. The crowd immediately came to a realization upon hearing the word. Zhu Zihuang had used his fire clone to hide in the stormy clouds. Judging from his aura, it seemed like Gu Julin and the other peerless geniuses had given him a lot of power. No wonder I kept feeling something strange about the stormy clouds. Your cultivation is a little weak too. So that's why. Qin Nan murmured. The flames in his eyes grew stronger. Zhu Zihuang's move had given him quite a surprise. His battle blood was boiling too. Qin Nan, I've gathered the power of the 4 of us, sacrificed a part of our natal fire seed, and spent a great amount of time to execute the art. Zhu Zihuang uttered thunderously. A strange aura burst out of his body and surged in all directions. Many human immortals, and even a few earth immortals with weaker cultivations, turned pale upon seeing the aura. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with astonishment too. With the immortal eyes of the divine god of battle, he clearly saw a great force gathering at the sabers in Zhu Zihuang's hands. Now I'll show you my saber art. Zhu Zihuang made his move, brandishing his 2 sabers. In an instant, countless terrifying saber chi slashed in all directions, but the strange thing was that the saber chi did not move forward at all after being slashed out. They froze and scattered in all directions. However, as the number of saber intents increased, Everyone could see an indescribable flower of saber intense blossoming between the heavens and earth. A strong murderous aura surged in all directions like a soaring dragon. A huge explosion took place around Qin Nan and the area within 1,000 zhang from him. An invisible force like an immortal mountain crushed down on him, preventing him from moving. The one and only blade technique, slash. Zhu Zihuang's will was fully unleashed. The enormous saber flower immediately crushed down. Everything in all directions began to lose its color. It was as if even the laws of the world could not compete with it. This was Zhu Zihuang's trump card. This was the reason why Zhu Zihuang dared to challenge Qin Nan. The one and only saber art was something he had accidentally obtained from a nameless corpse. Once executed, the terrifying will of the one and only saber art was capable of shattering and crushing everything in its path. No one could match him, not even the first immortal, Qin Nan. What a terrifying saber technique! The will of this blade is too domineering. Among those at the same level, who would be able to withstand this strike? Countless cultivators were in a daze. Even the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor wore an astounded look. He was obviously dumbfounded. Immortal Emperor Jiangjue and the peerless rulers were overjoyed. They did not expect Zhu Zihuang to give them such a great surprise. As such, Zhu Zihuang might be able to defeat Qin Nan and kill him. The one and only saber art? In the nick of time, Qin Nan did not make any move, but a grin slowly appeared on his face. There was no sign of hesitation in his eyes, only confidence and a hint of disdain. How dare you call yourself the one and only if I don't admit it? Following a blast, a brilliant blue glow burst out from Qin Nan's back with an indescribable imperious aura. Pieces of crimson golden armor appeared on Qin Nan's body and encapsulated him. His aura skyrocketed. The divine battle spirit, the crimson golden battle armor. Break! Qin Nan stood in the air. He ignored the enormous pressure and slashed upward with the heaven-shattering saber. Even though it was only a single slash, it had merged all of his battle intent and the saber intent of the Dao-jolting saber art into it. In the blink of an eye, the surroundings were illuminated like it was daytime. Zhu Zihuang's eyes widened when he saw the saber flower shatter into pieces. At the same time, he saw an illusory saber slash into his body and take away something. Bang! A strong gust of wind surged in all directions. Zhu Zihuang, who seemed unbeatable in the crowd's eyes just a moment ago, suddenly lost his aura. He fell from the sky with blood all over his body. He was severely injured. Did he lose? Immortal Emperor Jiangjue, the peerless rulers, Gu Julin and the other peerless geniuses, and the cultivators could not believe their eyes. Even the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor could not help but swallow his saliva. Did Qin Nan really destroy such a terrifying saber art with a single slash? The one and only saber art. The one and only saber art. I didn't think I would lose to you even after executing the one and only saber art. Zhu Zihuang staggered to his feet. His expression shifted rapidly. He let out a sigh and took out a storage bag. Qin Nan, you've won. Gu Julin and the others were startled too. They took out storage bags too. However, their eyes were filled with a strong unwillingness to accept the outcome. The taste of failure was the most annoying, especially for peerless geniuses like them who were core disciples. But, Qin Nan, thank you so much for your help. Zhu Zihuang took a deep breath and slowly bowed, performing a formal greeting. Gu Julin and the others did not do the same, but they brought their fists together too. Even though failure was annoying, it was also a great way for a person to grow stronger. Thank you for your guidance, fellow cultivators. Qin Nan returned the gesture. The 5 cultivators were worthy of his respect. He had learned a lot from the battle too. These geniuses just love to do this. Regardless of whether they win or lose, they still have to bow politely in the end. This is the world of martial arts. In the end, it's all about scheming and deceit, regardless of the means, the 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor murmured. However, the jealousy in his eyes had exposed his true thoughts. I see the island. Why are there so many cultivators here? Right at this moment, one aura after another surged over from afar, accompanied by a slightly excited and doubtful voice. Holy crap! Didn't they take a few hours to arrive? Why are they here now? How can they be so untrustworthy? The 8 Brilliance Demon Emperor could not help but curse when he sensed the faint presence of the terrifying auras. Xiao Shenliang's lips twitched. How dare a demon emperor accuse someone of being untrustworthy? Retreat. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.